Thompson Productions.
No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jet is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Dump. Today is a dual production, a dual No Way Jose Underclass podcast production. I am Jose Galison, today's host, and today running second seat we have Austin. I give you guys a little pro tip. I did see you guys, some of you guys joking around, not complaining, but just joking, having some funsies, and that's fine. We have fun around these parts. But a good way to tell is the intro. That's what I'm gonna start doing. The intro, whoever's running the show that day, like whoever is running first seat, and then on top of that, if you're wondering if both of us are going to be there, I would say when you see this right here, or no, I fucked up. I'm retarded. There you go. The already dead thing. When you see the already dead one, like that signifies. Oh, here we go. This signifies both of us are here. So just so you know, that's your visual indicator. Both are here. Also, for those who watch on my channel, if you see the NWJ thing on there, that's mine. That's because I added it. So, and I try to remember to take them off of Austin. Sometimes I forget because obviously that's indicating it's a No Way Jose podcast. But with that, guys, it's a beautiful, beautiful Friday morning. April 11th. I am here with my buddy Austin. We are going to be face to face, snuggling and nuzzling each other in about a week exactly from now. Almost exactly. Well, actually, I'm thinking my time. So technically, a week and a few hours. I will be in your loving embrace.
100%, man. I'm so excited though. We're gonna have a damn good time, brother.
Yeah.
I just want to.
We already got a patron that's like, that's taking us out for dinner. We're like, fuck yeah, dude, this is dope. But go on, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm just, my main goal is to come away from this opportunity blowing Jake's mind to, real.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be fucked up.
100%, dude. That's my goal. Like,
and we were just talking last night that like the absurdity of what we're doing, because we're coming in with 2 episodes. So the 2 episodes we're doing is, the first one is Oklahoma City bombing, and so like that's like. But don't get me wrong, I get pretty wild with it. I mean, like so far as like your standard normal people out there, like I have some pretty beyond the pale takes when it comes to Oklahoma City bombing. But that's like the establishment types. Normal people, not so much. I feel like you talk to a normal person, they're not like, oh my god. Like if I talk to like someone at my work, if I go to talk about Oklahoma City bombing and my takes on it, they might be like, I don't know if I buy that, but like, okay. Mm-hmm. But if I tell them my thoughts about like things like the Finders and like the Dutroux affair, and if I'm like just going on some rant about that, like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, dude.
So we're jumping from Oklahoma City bombing, which is much more like, hey, here's John Doe 2, and how we know is there's John Doe 2 is we have this guy who identified him, and he worked at this place, and like it's very like standard parapolitical source, this. And then we're going right into fucking like, all right, well, we primed you for that last thing. All right, well, they're all fucking pedophiles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, so yeah, it's gonna be wild.
Oh, for sure. But
and it's another month. They're a month apart too. So like people have this impression of us. It's like, oh well, these cool-headed, rational researchers, and then a month from now they're like, what the fuck?
Exactly. Yeah, man, the doomed Pepe face. But no, honestly, I just think the fact that we'll be able to kind of like seamlessly connect the two in a very real way.
Yeah.
I think
We're
that
starting
alone is
from mundane and working our way to absurd in the course of probably somewhere at the minimum 3 hours. But I already primed him. I told him, I was like, hey, between the two topics we have, this is probably at least 5 hours, because I was just warning him, because I guess he like rents out the studio. So I was like, I don't know if you do hourly, but I'm just warning you, it might be a hot fucking minute.
yeah, exactly.
So like, but even that, even if it was only 4 hours, that's 4 hours to essentially, as I said, the overall theme of these two is they feeds right into each other. So it's one overarching story throughout the two ones, and we're essentially getting our we're taking our fucking our episode on tinfoil hat essentially, and we're just essentially expanding it in a lot of ways, maybe focusing a little bit more, but yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
is that the guy? Is that the dude? Is that the dude? Here we go. Oh, never mind. I thought he mentioned steak. I just thought maybe it was him, but I forget what the name of
right,
the guy
that would
was.
be
Yeah.
hilarious.
Well, actually, I do remember the name of him, but it wasn't like his actual name. It's some online name. But anyways,
Right.
ooh, see you guys all in the chat. See Dan, John, Robin's a brat, Conspiracy, Carpenter, Eddie Grimm, Bobo. What's up, Bobo? Boomer Sooner. He was the one I was referring to, making fun of you. He said today is
dare you,
Austin
Boomer.
Zionist. My mistake. Yeah. So
Wow.
which even then though, this isn't normally a day. Also, just the typical days are Monday, Tuesday for Austin, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for me. So obviously those are subject to change, as they did this week. Oh, real quick, one more thing of housekeeping before we get into content. I did want to remind, because I mentioned in passing, I think a few times, kind of that next week's probably going to be a clusterfuck. But I was thinking through it today as I was commuting, like this morning, picking my wife up from work. And I was like, I actually think we're going to miss is Friday, Monday. I think we're going to miss morning dump Friday, Monday. That's it.
Yeah.
So
That's
like
what I
pretty
would
much
think.
you guys' viewing is going to be damn near unfazed. So like, yeah, you'll miss. So with that, guys, no Friday, no Monday morning dump. But we should be back for Already Dead.
I
Like,
might
yeah.
end up missing Thursday just because I'm with my mom and stepdad coming back into town before they
that's fine.
leave again.
Yeah,
That
I mean, that's
might
my
be the
day
only
anyway.
thing.
So yeah.
But
Yeah.
other than that, should be perfectly normal. So
All right. Well, you ready to get into this crumbling world? I mean, we have some interest, some stuff that's less dour, but
Mhm.
I
Did
mean,
you see
honestly,
that
go ahead.
before we jump into
Yeah.
anything? Did you see that clip of of Trump there at like a table in this cabinet meeting, and Trump turns and looks at RFK Jr. and asks him about the link to autism, and he asked him if we're going. Well, basically, he's assuring the public that we're going to have an answer, and then RFK Jr. looks at him and says, "We will know by September the causes of autism." And then Trump even mentions whether it's something you're eating or consuming or a shot, and it was like, oh, interesting. So yeah, at the very least, you never know. We might
Does
get
that
some.
sound like we're getting seated? Are you implying like some sort of? I guess I'm implying. I mean, you're stating what happened, but is it like a false hope? Is what I'm almost getting there. Like,
I
as
mean,
if
it
it's
could
like
always
a
be that. I mean,
yeah, like
because
a ooh,
obviously, in my mind,
yeah.
big pharma is not going to be very. I would imagine
They're going to come out with an
supportive of.
autism vaccine.
Yeah. We'll come out with an autism vaccine. That dude, that would be the fucking ultimate. But honestly,
That'd be the ultimate fuck you.
seriously. But yeah, who knows? Honestly, if we're going to get like, I can't imagine getting a straight answer. Where it's like, yeah, the direct causal link is this specific vaccine potentially that's on the schedule for on the childhood schedule or whatever, and it shows at this stage of the childhood scheduled vaccine that at least the vast majority of autism cases seem to very very much run parallel to each other in many ways, and they all show these very similar signs. That's always been the most devastating thing, just witnessing that alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is weird to make some sort of implication that we'll know, because that is odd, because it is like, I mean, I've never one that got too deep into all the weeds, but from my understanding, the main issue with a lot of these is these guys do a lot of shoddy studies or not much studies. They don't. There's all sorts of like. I mean, I just the idea that like how you would even go, and you'd almost have to like overhaul the entire like vaccine industry in order to essentially figure out what's like if the implication is autism. There's just so many different factors. Like to isolate which one that is, that feels like trying to find a needle in a fucking in a fucking, I don't know, an infinite haystack borderline. You know what I mean? Like it sounds like there's so much different shit in all these different things. I mean, I guess you could probably one item by one test each different thing, but even then, then you have to deal with like, well, how does this thing interact with that thing? Does this cause a negative effect when you interact with? Anyways, I'm not a doctor. That sounds like, how the fuck are you going to do that? The idea that we're going to know about what exactly, like, and we're going to fix that, because obviously the implication would be like, oh, we'll fix that in big pharma.
Right.
Cool, we're just going to fix big pharma. This is huge.
Yeah, exactly. Which obviously, my entire perspective on RFK Jr. this from day one has basically been, he was a tool to rebuild public trust surrounding this specific issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then so in essence, he's sort of running defense for big pharma, yet seemingly in public perception to the people who are already in support of him, really. But also, this could be some sort of rehabbing of his image to a certain extent because of how much he's taken a hit in the recent past even couple of weeks.
Well, it seems like a bit of both. Like it's got to be, like, I would think. But I mean, Lance is saying this is aluminum, but that made me think of
sure.
I mean, maybe it is, but I would assume there's other things as well, and it might
exactly.
be a thing of combinations. But either way, I mean, that made me think of the fact you mentioned one thing. I wouldn't be surprised if he says that, and then they just find one thing that does have maybe some statistical implications, and something they go, hey, we fixed it. Which, I mean, I guess that'd be a good thing, if they take out one thing out of all these different things or whatever that does cause this. But
clearly, he doesn't think it seems the MMR vaccine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he could be wanting to remake. I mean, the idea could be to a new formula or take out certain ingredients in the MMR. I don't fucking know. So like, this is way out of my wheelhouse. So it's like But yeah, that does sound like it's we'll feed you something so you can be like, you guys shut the fuck up and here you go.
Yeah, trust the plan, everyone.
Yeah. Which, I mean, hey, cool. I mean, I guess if they do take something out of vaccines that causes problems, that's great. But it's like, I mean, if the idea though is just do that one thing and then forget about the rest, it's kind of like, well, okay, well, I mean, like,
exactly.
What was this all for? Just for that one thing? Okay, well, cool. Yay.
Yeah.
I mean, most people who were concerned about that probably had stopped taking that shit anyways.
Exactly, man.
But with that, I guess let's go ahead and get into what's going on in the world overseas. Although I'm not sure if we're really allowed to be talking about this, because I've never been to Yemen. Have you been to Yemen, Austin?
No, I have not.
No. Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to. I'm assuming Dave's the camp's obviously been to Yemen. Then I'm assuming, because he's I mean, he writes about all these things, so he's got to be going. All right, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is Inside Baseball. For those who watch, we'll get to it a little bit. This is actually a few topics down the line. I'm just joking around with Austin, but anyone who pays attention to the Rogan sphere, just yesterday, a Rogan and Douglas Murray episode dropped, and by God, that was the worst thing I've ever seen. But we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. We'll get into that. We'll save our commentary for that. But man, I'm having a hard time saving it, because man, was it enthralling in like a slow crash kind of way. But let's go. All right. Anyways, Houthis officials say Yemen will cease attacks on U.S. shipping U.S. ships if U.S. stops bombing. So, I mean, I'm not going to read this whole article because, I mean, that kind of says it. And also, the key thing I just want to drive home with you guys is, so they did. They said, hey, a senior member of Yemen's Houthis, known as Ansar Allah, has told Dropsite News that Yemeni forces would stop attacks on U.S. warships in the region if Trump halted his bombing campaign on Yemen. Now, the key thing is that was the claim. The claim was that, even right here, if the U.S. stops targeting Yemen, we will cease our military operations against it. Never mind, I'm retarded. I'm reading the wrong
answer Bobo McCoy real quick. We did discuss this, by the way, right? The escalation that just happened in the past week with the bombers being delivered to Diego Garcia, the island where it's basically the foothold in for Middle Eastern conflicts for the U.S. So yeah, I think that we did cover that, just so you know, and also I think it was on the Morning Dump. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure we did it together. But the main point being that this was already very much has been staged for the past couple of weeks, and now we're seeing it sort of play out, the consequential outcome, But yeah, man, it looks like it's going to happen. As far as the Iran.
Right, this is what I was looking for. My bad. I was trying to find. I didn't have a quote here, but either way, they have said in the past that their reasoning why they supposedly even started this and are continuing is because Yemen is targeting U.S. ships. Now they've offered to stop targeting U.S. ships. So obviously, here's the thing, though. The rub is we started bombing Yemen before they ever made a threat against us specifically. The threat was against Israel. They made a threat against Israel, said that they were going to, then they, because of them starting the blockade on Gaza, they were going to, essentially block off their area to keep, Israel's goods from coming in. Now, I guess now they're allowing a carve out for U.S. ships that would, obviously be coming into Israel or something along those lines. And are we going to take it? Almost certainly not. But the interesting thing here is, like, how will they frame it? Because from the jump, the claim was, oh, Yemen's attacking U.S. ships, and we started bombing them before they were even, like, they had just, the blockade had basically just resumed, or not resumed. The blockade from Israel had just started essentially to Gaza. And then at that point, the Yemenis or Houthis or whatever had just said essentially, like, hey, we're going to pick up our blockade back up, like, against specifically Israel. But they hadn't actually started yet. And then we started bombing. So yes,
to the blockade in Gaza. Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. So like we bombed them in reaction to their announcement, essentially, although they claimed otherwise. But there was no actual attacks before that, so it just wouldn't make sense. Like there were no attacks during the period that there was a ceasefire in Gaza. Who would have fucking thunk it, So yeah. But yeah, I mean, while I in a certain sense I don't really agree with them blocking and all that, is also kind of in a certain roundabout way, it's humanitarian. So I mean, all they really got to do is stop murdering people, and they'll stop trying to murder you. It's really kind of a fucking simple math here, really. But yeah, that's what's going on. We'll see. I mean, I don't think anything's going to happen there, but the idea being that I mean, just keep an eye out. How are they going to frame it? I mean, they put themselves in a weird framing, but obviously they're going to squirm out of it or act like they never, made the claims or said things the way they did before, which is the norm. I mean, as we talked about yesterday with all the anti-Semitism stuff and how it like just slides from one thing to another. This all started because they were calling college protests, terrorist protests. That's what this all, like, it's literally was a starting point. Is all these people, and they're like, oh, no big deal, just calling them terrorists, and like, people pushing back, you sound crazy. You're like, no, it's seriously as simple as that. And from there, they built up from that. And you're like, oh, we can't have people in the United States, supporting terrorists. And like, oh, well, we can't target citizens, but we can target non-citizens. And here we are. Now we're to the point to where it's literally policy that you cannot, immigrate to the United States if you do not agree with the actions of Israel.
Exactly.
So it is wild.
Yeah. It is wild.
Yeah.
So this is in relation to exactly that. What as far as the ratcheting up of tensions in the Middle East in general in regard to this conflict and the deployment of these, it's apparently it wasn't only this fleet of stealth bombers. I forget, there was an additional report that I covered a few days ago, but it's definitely worthwhile. Yeah, the B-2 bombers, which that's unprecedented for sure, and that's what the Daily Mail reported here. Is
real quick before you jump into it, Sloppy Toppy just pointed out, this ties into what we talked about yesterday. He said, notice we got Iran completely surrounded by proxy armies. We left the Taliban billions in equipment in Afghanistan. Syria has another proxy, Israel and Turkey. I don't know why. That's a smart catch. I don't know why. I haven't heard anyone talk about that. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention.
How else do you smuggle weapons to your proxy forces?
Well, I mean, the idea that we left so much equipment in Afghanistan, and we're like, oh shit, because we just covered, what was it, yesterday, or maybe it was before that, that there was like the deputy CIA chief or whatever was supposedly spotted over there. Obviously, they're claiming, the Taliban claims that's false intel, but it's like, I know there's like plane tracker stuff that shows him going there. So they're like,
yeah, exactly, and we're also intended to believe that this was all essentially ineffective government officials making bad decisions. Oh, Biden's so stupid. His administration left all that weaponry there and arms. Dude, what do you think they're going to do with that? You think that they're not smuggling those weapons to specific proxy forces and different, right? That's exactly like, I mean, look at what Adnan Khashoggi and these individuals who are swept up into the network of arms smuggling, providing weapons to both sides of conflicts to provide plausible deniability. That all happens through these destabilized nations that obviously, we invaded and destabilized in the first place, which was a strategic goal. And that is where they tend to, place their operational basically it seems to be where they stage a lot of their operational and tactical, deployments in many ways, in covert ways, clandestine ways. And you see where this is where a lot of these illegal goods cross borders, in these just entirely like Afghanistan, right? Like Iraq, and again, as he mentioned, they tend to perfectly align with Israeli interests and geopolitically, geographically, be in a strategic location, right, for any future conflict. So I'm just considering the fact that obviously there's these rising tensions that, and you have all of these what they're calling unprecedented deployments. To me, it's clearly what we've been discussing. This is the pivot we're witnessing right now, and Iran is going to experience that consequential result of what happens when you consistently. I don't know. I almost believe at this point it's almost like the Palestinian Authority. Are you controlled opposition? Like, I don't even know. I understand that, like, clearly they're not going out of their way to make this any easier on the West and the U.S. to essentially ratchet up tensions even more so, because
Yeah.
it's not like they're going out of their way to kind of escalate things, right? But still,
Yeah.
it's just frustrating to witness because
Yeah, the PLO has been useless for a long time for the most part, but useless though. But the funny thing is, though, they're useless to a degree that like Israel doesn't like them because of the fact that they're useless and because they work with them so well. Essentially, being a subsidiary of, if they were to take any sort of power in Gaza, it'd be like, oh, then they could easily unite the two and
Yeah.
be a partner for peace type deal. So the funny thing is,
Right.
what makes them shitty is also what makes them, or makes them shitty is also what makes them good for Israel, I guess, in a sense. Like, they're just kind of weak. I mean, and also it's just, I mean, not that I'm saying Hamas is great. I'm not saying PLO should start chopping heads or anything, but I'm just saying, like, they're not really from my understanding. Once again, I'm by no means some deep, expert on the ins and outs of this, but from my recollection, yeah, that's been the case. So, yeah.
But anyway, we can move on. But this last point here is just the fact that it is, again, apparently the largest single deployment in U.S. history. 6 of the famed stealth bombers flew into the U.S. Air Base on Diego Garcia from Missouri last week.
Six
And
planes, 6 bombers is the largest deployment.
yeah, I know it sounds
That doesn't sound.
strange.
I mean, maybe they just they don't normally send. I mean, I feel like I should know
I
more about
think
this
it was
being a
far
aircraft
more
mechanic,
than
but
than
it's
that with the B-2 bombers. I think they're just stating that 6 were stealth.
okay. Oh,
Uh,
okay. Yeah. The
yeah,
stealths.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty
those are
sure.
those are still like, even when I was in the military, when they would put those in hangars, they would still like cordon on them off and like not allow people and have like a cop
Dude,
watching them. So they
when I
don't
was
fuck around
living
with
in
those. So
when I was living up in Lancaster, right by Palmdale, right? That's where all the defense contractors are. Boeing, Raytheon, Lockheed and Martin, they're all up there, dude. And in the high desert. And I was like at the apartment complex where we were living at the time. And I'm just walking down to go to the grocery store, right? Wasn't far at all, which, by the way, super fucked up neighborhood. This dude, like this Winco is like a, like low income grocery, basically. It's interesting. But I went I was going to this Winco, dude. Yeah, Edwards Air Force Base, very close near where I was. And yep, the prison pipeline. I discussed that as well, dude. I worked at a hotel there right next to the prison, and everybody that came there were visiting inmates at the prison from Compton. I'm like, holy shit. It was such a crazy experience. But anyway, so I'm walking to the Winco, which, by the way, this dude goes in, tries to tries to rob the Winco. He's, and inevitably runs up the back. It's like there's an upstairs aspect of the building. He runs out and apparently falls into. They have these huge structural beams, right, that hold up the upper part of the building structure, and apparently they're hollowed out from the inside. And he fell into one of them, and it's in the high desert, right? It gets hot as shit, and he basically suffered and then melted in there from like nobody could find him. And then all of a sudden he's like oozing out of this structural beam at the bottom
ugh,
of the pillar. Dude, it's so crazy. This
ugh,
happened like right next to our house. But anyway,
ugh.
so I was walking to the Winco and I hear nothing. And all of a sudden, right above me, dude, it was a stealth bomber.
Mm.
It was one of the craziest experiences I've ever had, really, because
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
never heard them
Yeah, they're
in
cool.
that way,
They
and to
are
have it
cool, I'll
so
give them that,
close.
yeah. It is
Yeah.
hard to, like, there's, like, like, A-10s, like, those things are fucking sick, like, being,
Yeah.
like, in the Air Force, there are a lot of, like, ones that are like, "This is fucking dope," but, I mean, they
Right.
are all, like, tools of murder,
Yeah, I
which, I
know,
mean,
dude.
tools of
It's
murder are,
terrible.
like, I like guns. Guns are great, they're for
Yeah.
protection, but it's like, I don't know, I can't really think of much use for an A-10 other than murdering civilians.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely, man.
I mean, or
Send
I
them
guess
to the
terrorists, but,
melting
like, I don't
bean.
know. I'm so libertarian that I'm all for just, like, anyone can get an A-10, but the kind of people who get an A-10 would be like, I don't know. Anyways,
Right.
we're getting sidetracked. My point being is just kinda
My
pointing out
bad.
my point being is I was just pointing out some of these aircraft are fucking cool. It's hard not to be like, "Oh, this is cool," even knowing what they do.
Right. No,
So,
for sure, man.
yeah, fucking the A-10's, like, literally just a flying gun. Like,
Yeah, dude.
yeah,
The
but,
problem here, though, with Diego Garcia, it is perfectly in range with the deployment to
mhm,
the Chagos Islands, perfectly in range of both Iran and Yemen. So that's where the foothold, you know, at least for it's long standing as far as strategic military, for the U.S. But anyway, um, we can really just pivot at this point,
mhm,
honestly, buddy.
yeah.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and if the talks aren't successful, I actually think it will be a very bad day for Iran if that's the case.
Yep, that's what I was about to read too, because yeah, it's important. All right, let's oh, we gotta bring yours down first. Let's get into the Mahmoud. You kind of caught this earlier, and I think you might have been onto something because I don't remember if I had suggested to you or if we'd both talked about what. But we both had a little bit like, something glows a little bit about this whole situation.
Absolutely.
Something's weird, especially once you learn a little bit about his background. Like, don't be wrong, whatever. There are people who do semi-glowy stuff that aren't glowies. They got a light glow, and you look at it a little bit closer, and you go, "Oh, that's a fake glow. There's no real glow here. We're moving on." But here, I don't know. He's got a little bit of glow on him, and we're not really quite entirely sure to the degree of the glowing yet. That hasn't been confirmed or not. But yeah, apparently we're dealing with right now. He's in court. I just find it interesting that this is like almost like a landmark case, and that this guy has such weird connections. So it is
Mhm.
like if you were to have something you wanted to control, this would be the way to go. The key point here, though, is that you guys can see the headline here. This is from AP. Press for evidence against Mahmoud Khalil. Government cites its power to deport people for beliefs. So that's the key thing. So essentially, to sum up all of this, I'll maybe bring up some quotes or, but essentially they were the Trump administration had to send over essentially evidence to the court to be like to for their legal case against Mahmoud Khalil. And what they send over was nothing but a memo that essentially purported his belief. It said right here, he said that while Khalil's activities were in quote otherwise lawful, letting him remain in the country would undermine in quotes U.S. policy to undermine anti-Semitism around the world and in the United States, in addition to efforts to protect Jewish students from harassment and violence in the United States. So that is where we are. So the point being is the only thing in this legal document that was to support this guy being deported, a guy that is, married and has a child that I think was either recently born or is going to be born soon in the United States, and the idea is that they can deport him for beliefs.
Yeah.
So so here we go.
Didn't
Condoning
we discuss,
anti-Semitic content and disruptive protests in the United States would severely undermine that significant foreign policy objection. Sorry, go ahead.
didn't we just discuss the fact that this is a precedent-setting operation,
Yep.
potentially, staged by some sort of spooked out asset of the MI5, MI6 network that is basically running this sort of, strange, counter-espionage operation on behalf of the US to create a domestic precedent-setting operation that could potentially violate our First Amendment. That's what's happening, dude. I mean, honestly,
Mhm.
and anti-Semitism, it's a justification, and
So
that's what
gay.
we're
I mean,
witnessing. So gay.
I guess I don't know. I don't know how much you want to linger on this, but it kind of almost is like the next. That's like the perfect little, I think, segue into our next. It's so gay. Like honestly, this like anti-Semitism, it's just so gay. And with I think
Mhm.
the it kind of makes sense to get into this British
They
homo.
even say this, man, "Targeting me is part of a broader strategy to suppress dissent."
Who's that?
That was said by, Khalil,
Oh, but
apparently rejected
Mahmoud. Yeah, yeah.
allegations of
Okay.
anti-Semitism, accusing Trump administration in a letter sent from jail last month. So, in his
Yeah.
own words. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's
Here we
very,
have,
very interesting.
me and you. I don't think we didn't talk, but it's always I always forget what we talk so much. It's always hard to remember what's recorded and what's not. But we talked the other day. Me and you both watched the Dave Smith. I couldn't like. I'm usually pretty late to catch up on stuff. But this one was like, man, this has been like building for a while because Murray, what's his name? Douglas Murray. He's kind of like been essentially the hero character of these Zionist people. Like I
Yeah.
can't think of really another like a
Amen.
larger apologist that serves to kind of go around and do
Did you
this
see that
essentially.
Simon Dovey said about him?
Yes. Oh shit. Good call. Because I meant to
Yeah.
bring that up. I actually have man. That's a really good call. I totally forgot about that because I meant to actually Jolly on Klebold or Tim Tuttle or whatever actually sent that to me last night, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna play that. So we'll bring that up in a second because that one was insanely wild,
Fucking
like
interesting.
insane. And I'm like, how did Dave not jump on them? To be fair, I guess Dave's like, and there's so many things to jump on. It's like he's kind of
Yeah.
pick your spot, so it's really hard to like criticize anyone for not jumping on certain things. Like
Mhm.
for one, this guy was all over the place. Two, the thing that they're arguing in the first place is just vaguely Israel and Israel shit, and I
Yeah.
guess sort of World War II. So it's like there's so many different. Like even if you're just focusing on Israel, like currently in the modern day, there's so many different angles that if you're someone who's an apologist for Israel, you can easily just kind of squirm all over the place.
Mhm.
Because the fact you can easily jump from one thing to the next, you can then be talking about Syria in one moment to Lebanon in the next, and so you just gotta. It's hard to like nail someone down because it's just so there's too much going on. You know what I mean? Like how do you
Yeah.
fucking get a grip on that? But yeah, good call. But anyways, me and you talked last night, and the response I've noticed online is there was at least initially, I kind of like thought about it a little more and kind of seen kind of scrolling through the timeline a little bit more. Not that I'm on there that much. Probably only scrolled there a handful of times since yesterday, since we talked. But there was, a lot of people that were, coming out and going, "Oh, Dave Smith killed this," wow, like tons of thousands of likes and all that stuff. So the idea, like, that's the impression you get online, the impression. But then on the flip side, we were also getting the exact same thing from the Douglas
Telling you,
Murray crowd.
choose your own reality at this
But
point.
yes and no, though. I'm telling you, my feeling though is like as I'm looking into it, and Martyr Maid kind of said it perfectly, really here. Kind of what I'm getting at. He said two kinds of people watch the Dave Smith versus Murray debate, and he put that in quotes. One, hardcore Zionists like Will, who he's quote tweeting this situation. We'll read his in a second as an example. Who'd say Murray won no matter what, and two, the entire rest of the world who were so put off by Murray that's negatively affected their opinion of British people in general. So what I mean is, yes, there are people like the Will Chamberlains of the world that are out there, going, fucking over Murray, but I think yes, you see, there's a handful of them, and there are ones that were like already Zionists to begin with, and yeah, they're getting a bunch of likes. And I mean, even then though, if you understand how to look at metrics, even just Will Chamberlain alone, that's not great. Almost 500 comments and 1,000 likes. I know I sound gay like talking about this, but point being is that's obviously a lot of people shitting on it. I mean, it's not a ratio or anything, so it's not like you got own, but it's not great. It's not well received, especially for someone of his size. This dude has 400,000. But either way, I've seen other ones that were of similar, like the Misfit Patriots of the world is probably a great example. But the problem is with them is they're very clearly artificial.
Yeah, man.
So it's like
there's nothing genuine about those accounts.
Exactly. So as I'm scrolling through my timeline and I'm watching these two sides, I'm telling you, I mean, obviously I can't give you solid things. It really just comes down to pattern recognition. But my impression from all of this is that the vast majority of people, especially honest actors or people who just really don't have a bone in this fight, were like, holy shit, this guy looks awful. Fucking awful. And Dave Smith did good. Like, I wouldn't even say Dave Smith like destroyed him. I know a lot of people are saying that. Dave Smith did well. If anything, he was super polite. I actually, funny enough, I put show this right here actually real quick. Never mind. Let me see. I put here. Someone said it was. I said for the promo for the show, I said Dave Smith politely raped a British twink. Because that is kind of what it is. He politely raped him. And it's funny. Someone said that's like the best way to describe him. Because it was super nice. It wasn't too contentious. I mean, they got a little bit into it. I mean, I'm actually really surprised for as smug and cunty as Murray got a couple times.
Yeah.
That Dave didn't go off. Because anyone who's been followed Dave for a long time, you've seen him go off. And it's like he fucking murders people.
And just that Rogan being there, and arranging that situation, he must have just been attempting to respect that you
Yeah,
know,
the
as
funny
much
thing
as
is there were so
possible.
many people who were framing this as, "Oh, they ganged up on him," and you're like, "Nah, dude, Rogan was saving his ass. I don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about." Like, he
100%.
created a more friendly environment. He also would kinda simmer down the tensions at times. I mean, there were a
Yep.
couple times I will say Dave got or that Joe got a little bit testy and, like, kinda upped the tensions because he was kinda getting irritated with him. But for the most
Yeah.
part, no, that wasn't the case. It seemed like the inclusion of Joe made this a much more friendly and lighthearted conversation as opposed to,
100%.
like, getting fucking murdered.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it would have been near as amicable if it was kind of, even if it was just on one of their platforms or mutually streamed to both. You know what I mean? Like, although I do think it's important to have a third party involved to kind of mediate in a way, but still, it's like, I don't know. I don't know how, like, how worthwhile is a conversation like this anyway? It's so
Mm,
strange, you know? It's just, I understand, like, exposing someone for their hypocrisy and things of that nature, very important always to kind of, like, a spotlight in a way, because at least it can bring those, just at the very least, you can kind of spotlight the bad ideas and hope to eradicate them moving forward, but still, in
mm.
my mind, just understanding the political divide, like, man, I don't know. It's interesting how people can convince themselves that they have been victorious, you know, or their side came out on top. Like,
Mm.
I've witnessed it too many times, too often, to where people can legitimately like, they're under just a drastically different impression of how they interpret the outcome. You know what I'm saying? And that's what, unfortunately, I think is like the political bias of a lot of this. We're in a bubble, whether we know it or not. You know, it's like we have to acknowledge it as often as possible, I think, if only to, because we have these knee jerk reactions instinctually to just from all the knowledge and you know, from all the information we've consumed. So I don't know, it's difficult for me to feel like, because there are so many people I know that would probably look at this and legitimately think that, you know, Douglas Murray made good points because look at this stupid comedian, these dumb comedians, you
Yeah.
know, they're basically anti-Semitic white supremacists in the first place. A lot of people think that way, man. You know, it's like um, yeah,
I mean,
it's,
I don't disagree with you. Those people
yeah,
exist. I just think they're becoming more and more the minority, is my impression.
yeah, I
So,
hope
and
so, bro.
they're having to float more and more artificial pushing of to make it seem that's not the case and make that less and less obvious.
I'm
So, yeah.
hoping. I just like, man, I don't know. I see I get what you're saying, like the astroturf nature of like trying to convince us what is popular, you know, as far as like some of these ideas. But yeah, I
Mhm.
just I really do think there is a divide that is
Oh
sort
yeah.
of, yeah, something that I've never witnessed, definitely.
I
And
just think the divide is more like it's framed by the powers that be as like an even split, but I really feel like if we were able to somehow like, reach down and pluck out whatever we consider artificial out of it, we'd be like,
yeah,
holy shit. Like what's
oh
going
yeah,
on here? Kind of like walking behind the curtain in Oz, you're like, what the fuck is fuck you, dude. Like,
yeah,
like that's what it feels like to me, at least. I mean, I might be wrong. Maybe I'm overly optimistic. I'm also in a different area than you. You're over in Cali. I'm over in Florida. So maybe it's just a matter of a perspective. I've also always been like a blue collar type guy. Like I worked with my hands. So it's like, I mean, the kind
yeah.
of people I work with are going to tend to be conservative. A little
I
bit
just
more
still see people
crass.
in
So
masks like a
yeah,
motherfucker. Like
yeah.
100%. Like this is the reality. You know, that we are legitimately in polar opposite uh, um, paradigms. That's honestly, I think what's happening is we're in polar opposite paradigms, and we have to objectively interpret these things as often as possible. But still, it's like to bridge that gap. It's becoming more and more of a difficult prospect to
JMS
where
says
we
a
basically.
loudspeaker. Oh, sorry. I thought you paused. My bad. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. I
Uh,
just I'm thinking that, you know, to bridge that gap, as I said, is more and more of a difficult prospect in my mind, because I'm basically realizing at this point, um, I can't even have conversations with anyone who thinks differently
Yeah.
at this level. So if we're not even allowed to kind of like confront each other and have an objective, open-minded conversation at any level, to where it's like, no, the
I think
wall
it's
has
kind of
like
been
the
like that
line
for a
has
while,
been,
though. I mean, maybe
yeah,
maybe it just
it's
bothers
worse
you
than
more
ever,
because I
though.
just don't. Maybe I mean I don't know.
It
I
seems
guess
that
for
way.
years now I've been like when it comes to interacting in the real world, normal people,
Mhm.
unless I'm presented, unless someone leads with interest in some sort of discussion like that, and if I get the impression that they're going to be like chill, I don't know. I don't really. For one, I guess maybe it's just a matter because I just don't give a shit really too much about single individual people. I mean, this sounds awful to say it that way, but what I mean is like in the sense of changing minds, I also know that like likely I'm not going to change their mind, so I'm actually better to wait until they're more open. It's more if I never don't get the vibe they're going to be receptive to anything, it's obviously just going to be an argument. So really at that point the
Mhm.
only reason to engage with them would be if there's other people and to make an example or something because he's not going to be reached, but I could maybe make other people be reached as a result of whatever interaction we have. But generally speaking, person to person, someone who's not open to that sort of conversation, no real fucking point. If anything, you're going to drive them further into their own position, usually.
Yeah.
So the idea is like I've just kind of been like I just don't have those conversations with people. Maybe
Yeah.
I've just got them out of my system by
That's
doing
my
shit like
point.
this. And it's not that big of a
Yeah.
deal. But
Yeah.
I guess
Well,
I've kind of gone over that concept that like it's been a long time that I'm just like this is just. But at the same time,
no,
it's
I
like I
know,
don't know.
but that's
Most
my
people don't really
point.
talk to random people about their crazy interests that they know a shitload about because it's like
Yeah, but
I might a
more
little
than
bit,
ever,
but
we are isolated in our own digital gulags. We are in this bubble of
Mm,
information and access to that information that is so curated, so cultivated, so manufactured. It's the mind war at every level. And so just because we broke out and have a different algorithm at a certain point, still there's the manipulation at a very, sophisticated level playing out and deliberately targeting us specifically with that in mind of how we fall on that political spectrum ideologically.
mm,
So I just think that yeah, this is a perfect example of the inability to bridge that gap. I
mm.
don't know how legitimate Douglas Murray is because to me, obviously, I would agree with Simon Dovey. He seems to be an agent of the Rothschild banking family and the
Yep.
international banking
Well, I'll bring
cabal.
that
And
up in a minute. Yeah, that's the
yeah,
next thing I'm gonna bring up. Yeah. Let me
so
read Will Chamberlain's what he had to say real quick because I did promise you I would, and it kind of connects into it. But just give you an example of what people are saying. Now, Will's take on this Douglas Murray thing is he said, to the extent there was an actual debate between Dave Smith and Doug Murray and Rogan, Murray won it mostly by default. The first hour and a half was mostly Smith and Rogan retreating to their mott over and over again, Murray describing it as punching jelly. He was right. No, he
yes,
wasn't. That's completely retarded. He had no real fucking point. And then anytime they tried to restate it and ask him his point, then he would squirrel into something else. And like we talked about this last night, it's kind of like I think what he was saying, sort of, if I'm trying to steelman his argument, was that there should be more experts, but you don't. But at the same time, like it's not. It's okay if you do kind of have non-experts, but we should be trying to push more experts. But yet at the same time, he also agrees the expert class has been flawed in the past, and you shouldn't just default to expert. So it's just nonsensical. It's just like a circular over and over. It's like I just don't know what is even the question here. The answer is the question is that no. The problem here. The problem here is that you're saying you want more knowledgeable people in this space on given topics. Yeah, okay, cool. Like I would like a unicorn in my front yard. Like
mm,
what is the fucking point of saying this? Like yeah,
yeah,
it'd be cool if in every informational sector there were people that were solid and knew their shit and were like yes, obviously, no fucking shit. Like it's a stupid I don't know, it's just nonsensical. Like what is the point of this? Like obviously no shit would be preferable. And I get the complaint that there is like salacious shit, out there, but I mean,
mm.
I don't know. That's some people want salacious shit. It is what it is. What are you? It's just like unless you're asking for the government to do something about it, you're just complaining that people like things. I don't.
Yeah.
You're complaining about reality essentially. It's just
He's
bizarre.
complaining that people basically it's the same concept of the verified badge on Twitter. Why people like Sam Harris and Douglas Murray and these very same alleged, elite intellectuals, right? Who are at least among that intellectual class and intended to be taken far more seriously than the average person, right? And that's the problem is that they're realizing that first of all, I think that they're gatekeepers in more ways than one. And so they're very upset that anybody can have an opinion that would gain any real sort of it's just like momentum, right, in the public perception, and obviously, I think that they're attempting to, you know, at every single level, dismiss and kind of counteract and target that variability that seemingly like removing the verified aspect of like that was a really like a huge pivot in a different direction for like the public square. You know what I mean, on social media. And so
Mhm.
that alone, you saw how the elite intellectuals reacted to that. I mean, they were up in arms still to this day. Like half of them even left the platform for a time because they couldn't accept the fact that people they viewed below them intellectually were able to have a similar voice and range in their effect and reach.
That's
And what
100% what his problem is. But go sorry.
has to be.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
then and why else do you think Elon brought in that Asian bitch from the World Economic Forum who goes, it's freedom of speech, not freedom of reach? And they're attempting to, again, stranglehold our ability and cap our ability to reach a wider audience, or just have a voice that, let's say, genuinely, if you have a point worth being right, uh, um, at least worthwhile, it should naturally, I would imagine, rise to the surface. You would think, but that's why they have to have all these mechanisms in place to kind of stranglehold those narratives, misdirect
Mhm.
people, blow the smoke and mirrors. Yeah, it's controlling the narrative. That's what they do. It's so similar
Mhm.
to what you were talking about with the Chatham
Yeah,
House rules, right? Because
yeah,
it's exactly that. What Tim Pool and what was that dipshit, Dave Rubin, and
yeah.
all these retards going and meeting with Netanyahu, and then they come out the other side and they're pushing a narrative, right?
Mhm.
And what's her name? Um, anyway, I can't remember, but
There's a
the
Molly
whole
Hemingway there. Is that what you're about to say? I think
yeah,
she worked for
yeah,
the Federalist, which we're
dude.
actually gonna read a piece from the well, not read it. We'll go to, like, little bits here in a bit of the Federalist,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's so the editor in chief, I think, of the Federalist, Molly Hemingway, is that I guess what you're getting? I don't
It's
know what
so
you're about to say about
crazy,
her.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that Modern Mockingbird is as real as you know. I mean, it is, as far as just kind of being able to accurately assess the current environment. Man, what else could you call this?
Mhm.
And so I don't know. It's impossible. Like I understand why. It's just how what would you do? I was wondering. I was going to ask you because like what would happen if you get all of a sudden you get hit up and like this would ever happen, but still, right? You never know.
Oh,
You
yeah.
get hit up and you get invited to an event.
BB's like,
Uh,
"Yo, Jose."
right, like, what would you honestly do? Because it is, I couldn't imagine you wouldn't be compromised before being invited to an event under
Oh,
those
I would
circumstances.
have to immediately quote tweet it, like, just, like, screenshot here, I just wanna let it be known that this is happening, blah, 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 like, I don't even know if I'd leave a response, like, I would put it all out public immediately, like, I would, like, everything, like, I would immediately just be like, "Yo, screenshot, this person's, like, saying, 'Hey, this, that,' but, like, there is this going on, like, this is what's happening, they're trying to get me to go, I mean, obviously, I'm not." I mean, the other option is maybe I could lie, but I just is not really my style. Also, it feels like you're setting yourself up for failure too if you go in there like,
Right.
oh, I'm just going there and tell everyone everything. It's like, okay, well
Mhm.
then now you're like already implicated as being there. I just feel like there's a lot of way they can manipulate the way the news comes out. It just doesn't seem the way to go. It just seems like
Doesn't
you're
it seem like
yeah.
you wouldn't get the almost like the kind of the implication just at face value is that anyone who would have been invited in the first place has to have
Mhm.
been compromised. I mean, how does it not feel that way
I don't know if I'd say to
from
be
the outset?
compromised because I mean, maybe to some extent, I would say at the least bit,
To
someone they
agree to
feel they
those
can they
terms,
can
right?
swoon a little bit. Someone they can feel they
Yeah.
can swoon, or they already have swooned. Because
Yeah,
I do
that's what
feel
I'm
like from my impression of this, from the little bits that we've heard out, it didn't sound like. I mean, maybe, just maybe, I don't know. Once again, I mean, who this could have been a leak from. For all I know, that this could have been like a leak from APAC that was like made it sound like oh, this is all that they talked about. Tim mentioned this, and that kind of obfuscates the crazier shit they were said. I don't fucking know, but it sounds
Mhm.
like that probably not a lot was really said at the meeting. Honestly, sounds like it was kind of a fluff meeting. Like, oh, hey there, guys, I want to thank you for what you guys are doing, and like I'm sure it was very pomp and circumstance, very you guys, like it was very like. like that. Like that's what that like it was Netanyahu buttering these guys up is what I feel like it probably was. It was probably maybe he told them some little secret information or something. But I doubt it was anything too serious. But I could be wrong. I mean, I wouldn't be like astounded if come to find out, oh yeah, they're plotting their fucking narrative plans there. But I just feel like this likely was more like a kind of I don't know, wooing or the new media class is what it felt like. It felt like oh hey, you're cute, we should hang out sometime. That's what it felt like, Yeah, or no more the first hangout. Like, oh, maybe we should. I don't know, let's try going out. Let's go out for a little meal and see how things go. That's what it feels like.
Dude, I know. Did you see what Kim Iverson had to say about it? I found it was just a small clip that I watched of her discussing it, and then Tim Pool had quote tweeted it and was like responding to it. But basically, she was just saying that when she had gone on Tim Pool's show, that in hindsight, basically she was using this as an example of all of his bad takes on Israel in the recent past, but then also this meeting with Netanyahu kind of reinforces a lot of her opinion of, and now in hindsight, she's reflecting back on her appearance on Tim Pool and how they were, before they had done the show, they were kind of privately hanging out in the kitchen area. And she had mentioned the fact to them that she had just returned from the West Bank, and instantly 3 of his staffers said, "We all support Israel."
Weird.
And and that's what she said. She's like, well, that was fucking strange, right?
I wonder when this was, because once again, I know we're probably gonna get the comments that I'm running fucking cover, but like, I mean, not that I like hung out a ton with these guys, and I guess it really depends on who it is, and a lot of these people come in and out, and there are a lot of people there. But I hung out with like a good handful of them, and every person I ever interacted with was cool. Like, if anything, like the bummer about, like, from my experience, the bummer about Timcast, in general, is that frankly Tim's kind of boring and kind of just like, but the rest of the people aren't so bad. I mean, okay,
I like Ian.
Phil's
Ian's
not
the only
great.
one
Ian's
I've ever.
fun.
Ian and Luke are the only ones I ever really liked.
Luke. I mean, like Phil, depending on the topic, maybe, but like he's god awful in Israel too. It's heartbreaking too, because Fall of Ideals was like my shit. Like that was like I think it was like my junior summer soundtrack, basically. Like that was my shit. Like so it's like, dude, what the fuck? But whatever. It is cool though to meet your hero, and then you're like the same size as them and kind of bigger. You're like, fuck yeah.
What the fuck? That's so funny. Fuck, man.
But anyways, point being, it's like the staff, like the lower people, they were all pretty cool. Now, I will say that he does have one journalist that I'm aware of that I've never interacted with, that he is an avowed neocon. So maybe, but 3 people, I don't know. That's weird. I mean, interesting. I mean, hell, his booker, he was Cassandra McDonald. That's the only reason I really got on there. And she's like insanely anti-Israel. So weird. And I don't know.
Strange, right?
It is bizarre. I mean, that would, I don't know. I mean, I'll have to watch that. And so maybe maybe she'll say names or something, because it's bizarre. I don't really know who the fuck would really be all that like in the other than like Phil and Tim, really, and the neocon guy. I don't really know who is like super. Oh, and the Libby Emmons or whatever the fuck. I don't know if she's actually a staff or if she's just a regular, but she's fucking awful too. But all right, let's get into this. Let's get back to making fun of Murray.
Cool.
I have 2 videos that we figured we'd take the piss out of. You mentioned, I had one, but then you mentioned that. I was like, oh shit, you're right. We should bring that up. Here is, I know, for context here, because it's only a 30-second clip, but this was at the time, I believe David just invoked the 7, was it 6 countries or 7 countries? I think it's 6 countries. The Paul Wolfowitz memo that went to what's his fucking
Wesley Clark.
Wesley Clark. Yep. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. That was the easy of the 2. But then Wolfowitz, obviously Witz, Jewish. He almost immediately goes into like this whole like. I mean, I'm not even going to try to do an imitation of Douglas Murray, but this winding kind of like meandering, like, oh, you can see how this is like sort of like, oh, you're evoking and just the most long drawn out, insane, like meandering way to explain essentially what he's saying is like, you're bringing up an anti-Semitic, conspiracy theory. And this is, and the idea is like, he's like, oh, it's not that I'm saying you can't talk about anti-Semitic theories, but you're providing fertile, and it's like it's just ridiculous, because it's like he just was laughing, kind of smirking, and then like pointing out, oh, this is anti-Semitic. It's like, you're not arguing it. And then he provides another example, and this is example that he brought up a few examples actually, but this is one of the examples that was like, what? of like his example of like a similar such thing of how like, oh, well, we wouldn't do it in this situation, like kind of trying to provide another example. And this really just like anyone who pays attention, this is very much a tipping of the cards to me. Like, what is going on? Like, you either are just not a serious, a real serious person, or you're controlled, or I mean, I think it's pretty fair to say Duxbury's controlled. But
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, let's go and play this though, because this is just wild. By the way, though, we did mention recently, the Chicken Hawk guy. This is him, by the way, for anyone interested. If you want to follow him, I mean, this guy should have multitudes more followers than us. So, great book. Highly recommend it. I mean, unless don't read it before bed, though.
Yeah.
All right, let's go and play this.
If you said to me, or somebody said to me, don't you think that some people are running the global financial system? And I said, possibly. And I said, who do you think it is? And they said, the Rothschilds. I think I'd be right in saying there was something a bit.
I just wanted to point out real quick that I don't know who. Actually, this isn't Jolly on Cleveland. He quote tweeted, but somebody then put this. They shared this thing here. That I actually hadn't read it, but I didn't just now realize it. Actually, Doug's Murray here, but we'll read it real quick. It says, selling austerity to empower banks, coinciding with the society's increasing lurch to the far right, exemplifying his 2011 absorption of Douglas Murray in the Center for Social Cohesion. HJS launched a project for the rehabilitation of public perceptions of capitalism. The Spinwatch team draw, I just want to reiterate something real quick, exemplified in its 2011 absorption of Douglas Murray in his Center of Social Cohesion. So just real quick, like he's working with this other entity. The Spinwatch team draw on my own reporting in The Guardian on how the project was partially funded by the City of London Corporation to demonstrate why financial actors deemed responsible for having caused the crisis should not be punished, and to combat calls for better regulation of banks and markets. Spinwatch confirms that other financial interests courted to support the project include McKinsey & Company, the leading U.S. financial services consultancy, KPMG, the Dutch global accountancy firm, and Clifford Chance, the British multinational law firm. The project led to a task force chaired by Lady de Rothschild, CEO of L. Rothschild and Dominic Barton, global managing director of McKinsey, which published a report in 2012 called Towards a More Inclusive Capitalism. In May 2014, the HJS project culminated in a major global conference on the need for a more inclusive capitalism, which, however, did nothing to address the fundamental structural causes of the global financial crisis, but did recommend measures to ameliorate growing public hostility to neoliberal austerity. Obviously, me and Austin, I guess, I don't know if you consider yourself an ANCAP or something, but you're kind of like in the realm. So it is like you see this word capitalism thrown around a bunch. If we're saying inclusive capitalism, I'm already teed off to like, you're not talking about the type of capitalism I'm talking about. You're talking about state capitalism. Right? Yes,
exactly.
So
it's an entirely different idea and concept.
Yeah. But either way, in a roundabout way, Douglas Murray works for Lady de Rothschild or for de Rothschild. Yeah. So it's like, and then even if this wasn't the case, this is just such an insane thing to say as your go-to example for why you shouldn't spread around conspiracy theories.
Right.
But let's go and finish. There's 6 seconds left. I think I might have left. Actually, I'll back up a little bit. But
and they said, the Rothschilds. I think I'd be right in saying there was something a bit off. Do you think about the character of the person doing that, because it seemed like they were playing to some kind of lazy old trope.
So it's a lazy old trope to bring up the Rothschilds is his perspective here. So keep that in mind. If you're trying to say that international moneylenders control international money or have a significant effect on it, I don't know. I mean, this is a tired Jewish trope. That's what it is. So yep. that's the only reason why so many people over so many generations have focused so much on the Rothschilds. Mm-hmm. It's just because they're Jews, guys. That's why we all just hate Jews so fucking much.
Yeah, he's legitimately Douglas Murray's been publishing pieces about how the right plays with Jew hate, and like every single aspect of what he's doing is basically running some sort of counter propaganda operation to counter any sort of anti-Semitism or to at least create this notion of a rise in anti-Semitic behavior, right? And also it's interesting to see how he kind of frames it and he name drops David Rothschild and various individuals, which is just ridiculous. But
Which is, I think that's like knowing this now, I think that kind of explains a little bit more who I said it, because it obviously implies he probably, I'm assuming he probably knows them personally, or maybe not personally, but he's met them, he's aware of them. So this is a human being he's met in his real life. So it is like, to some degree, it's like a normalcy bias. I mean,
Right.
obviously, once again, you cue the chat giving me shit, but like, at the very least, if we were to try to understand Douglas Murray as an organic actor, that would somewhat make sense. I'm not even saying he is. If anything, I lean towards he's probably not, but it's just a way to understand it. I could see there being a normalcy bias. If you're someone who interacts with the Rothschilds on a semi-regular or occasionally, it's going to make them seem less. I guess kind of like I just brought up like Tim Pool. Now, if I've interacted, I'm like, I'm not saying we have a close personal thing, but it kind of like demystified a lot of things. It's just like, oh, it's some dude's house that I show up to, and he has like a fucking organization of some. It's just different. You get a different impression. Same thing with the Rothschilds. So it's like you've met him. So you're like, oh, you're saying Rothschilds that I've met. You're saying they're fucking crazy spooks.
Right.
They seem cool to me. Obviously, but yeah.
No, I get exactly what you're saying. It's like what John C. Dvorak from No Agenda. He apparently they kind of worked in that right. They were producers, and worked in the business in a way, and especially in Silicon Valley. And he himself went to a lot of these events, right? These media events where he would brush shoulders with specific, like, let's say Isabel Maxwell, right? Or something like that, right? Which he personally knows now after meeting her a couple of times at some of these events. Who knows? So in his mind, instantly, he dismisses the reality as far as the connections that have been made by, like, let's say a Whitney Webb connecting Isabel Maxwell to, running the sort of being kind of the Silicon Valley branch of the network at the time, and how they would facilitate a lot of, like, let's say the Promise Software scandal and how they were pushing that. There was a huge footprint there, and he was unable to acknowledge that because he had just happened to brush shoulders with her at an event, and potentially, oh yeah, everybody's taking pictures, and you could just be in a picture on accident. Like, it reminds me of the elevator trick in the Concora scandal. Like, oops, you're in a picture with Ghislaine Maxwell now. I mean, which definitely probably happened. You know what I'm saying?
You got photobombed by Jeffrey Epstein and a child prostitute.
Yeah. Right.
It just happens.
Exactly. Which you should never. I would think you wouldn't want to find yourself in any sort of, I don't know. But then again, it's like, if you're in that industry, right, and it seems to have been like all the powerful players attend these these various events for networking specifically. Then, of course, if you're trying to blackmail people or you're running some sort of human compromise operation, you would target those events. I mean, obviously, but again, I'm not attempting to dismiss any sort of like legitimate guilt. I'm just using that as like a reinforcing idea of how, like, someone like a John C. Dvorak would easily dismiss, oh, there's no reality there to her potentially being involved in the network, so therefore Whitney Webb's work is not as valuable in his mind, and it always drove me nuts because at face value he would call her a nut or a loon, basically is essentially what Ian Carroll had done, right? Which is like not exactly, because I would say he was a little bit more at least positive and optimistic toward her work in general, but still, the idea is that what was the terminology he used was shit. I'm trying to remember now.
Real quick, while you think on that, someone says, despite pro-Israel, Murray is outspoken against British replacement by Islamic and African cultures. Standard conspiracy is that Israel is behind that sort of thing, i.e. Barbara Lerner. Oh, wouldn't it make sense to have someone control the opposition?
Controlled opposition, buddy.
Yeah.
And when you understand where the city of London originated from, my God, buddy, like, there's a far deeper history than I was aware of, because obviously the city of London, it's not at all a part of, the actual city of London, right? And people are unaware of the fact that It's basically about 1 square mile in size and was established as a haven by the Khazar Jews during their extermination from Khazaria nearly 1,000 years ago. Named London at that time. And it's pretty nuts, honestly, that how deep of a footprint there is in the city of London and the Vatican Bank, and you have these strange, like DC as well, right? And seems to be kind of where global civilization is being directed. In more ways than one. You have the Royal Institute for International Affairs, which, guess what? Essentially the Chatham House is directly implicated there, and you have to understand this is, I think, the peak, like the small glimpse behind the curtain. Realizing that okay, there's a far more well established kind of ground zero for where the globalist framework is being sponsored from, and also where they launder their money, right? Has its own government, own police force, makes its own laws, levies its own taxes. It has its own flag, crest, and ceremonial armed forces. It's such a trip. And so anyway, it's a sovereign state, and you can't trust these. Like DC, same thing. So I'm very much, I'm very much under the impression that this is where, like, the coalescing of the network, as far as like this overwhelmingly this clandestine international really intelligence network.
Eventually they're gonna bust somebody doing some crazy, awful, like, insane shit within that area, and they're go, well, it's technically this is a sovereign area. We're allowed to rape babies and wear their faces here, so
yeah,
like there could be something crazy like that, But anyway, let's move. I mean, if we want to keep talking about this, we can. But I figure we move on to the next. And I also had a thought too, as you were talking about Murray, and like I know we kind of started off with the idea of like, this has become kind of a pick your own reality. But at the same time, like, obviously, me and you slightly have a slightly different take on that. Just a matter of degrees, really. But I do find it interesting that Murray, we kind of have made implications throughout this episode that perhaps he's some sort of controlled op or something. And I don't know, maybe he's just organically just that fucking awful, which is insane to believe. Like, I don't know how you can be fucking organically that awful, but let's just say he is. Or actually, no, let me say it. Let's just say that's regardless of whether he is or isn't, like, he came to have this talk. And I feel like something about this, and then especially if you watch and you see how it turned out, it didn't really go well for him. Even if you are one of the ones that are like pick your own reality or whatever, and you're on the side, it's like he could have done way better. Like, it could have been like if he's still like, I feel like anyone being slightly objective could say it wasn't a good performance. Maybe you do agree with his points because you agree with his like him overall, but like wasn't a good showing. So it's like, this, and I feel like he had to maybe have known this or something. It's just the idea that, like, and he's been, let's be real, ducking Dave for probably ever, for a long ass time. And finally now it's happening on Rogan. As we mentioned, it was kind of like only Rogan, I think, enabled it, that third party person. Obviously the size of the platform, he's kind of gains to benefit a lot of, audience off of this. Cause it's like, Rogan's like, dude, if me and you did Rogan, we'd probably be making 6 figures within a week. Like, let's be real. So I get why somebody be like, okay, all right, that's pretty tempting. I'll take it. Even if I'm going to you look foolish. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like,
it's so
I just find it interesting they
imagine.
did it. Like, I think that says something about the narrative game where it's at right now.
It's so hard to imagine that this is that. How could your head be so far up your own ass that this is what you truly believe? This is your conceptual outline of reality and how people should be able to have their opinions and share them with the world. Like, that alone, who the fuck do you think you are, man? You know what I mean? Like, honestly, and that's the intellectual elitism that is perfectly playing out.
Here's a great example of the elitism. I just wanted to play. I mean, there's so many clips we could play, but we'd be here all day. I do recommend you get. I mean, I guess I say I recommend, but at the same time, there's not really anything substantive that you guys are really going to get out of it. It's just more just like crazy to behold. Like, wow, like, this is just wild. Like, this guy is just so unlikable, insane. And I've never wanted to follow his work, closely. I'm like somewhat aware of his stuff. And so I knew he was like sort of supposed to be kind of center right, something sort of. I think he considers himself sort of a liberal, sometimes libertarian ish, but like obviously not. But like he's also the kind of same guy who will cope for like neocons and shit. So, anyways, just kind of just the worst. But here's
Where'd you go, brother? Did Jose freeze up on you guys too? Or is that on my end?
Oh, I just flicked over and did I freeze up, guys?
I know, I'm wondering because I was wondering if it was my end or your end.
It's hard to tell because I was on a different tab and then I poked over and then it like popped. So I don't know. Maybe it was me. I'm sorry if it was me. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah. Anyways, we have I don't know if any of that got cut out, but here we go. We got Douglas Murray, Burley shuts down Dave Smith. You're gonna spend a year and a half talking about places you should at least see the courtesy of visiting it. Dave DeCamp says, "Do I have to visit every country that I don't want to help kill babies?" Which is the logical. So here's about 2.5 minutes. I'll up this to like 1.5 to move it quicker. But yeah, it's pretty fucking awful. But let's go ahead and watch this. But like I said, we're not gonna just keep doing this forever. This will be the last thing.
I've been plenty of times. No deficit? No, there are plenty. There are plenty.
Oh Jesus Christ! They talk way too quick for even 1.5. That's retarded. All right, give me a second. All right, here we go. All right, play it now.
Have you been to the crossing points? No. When were you last there at all? I've never been. You've never been? Well, am I not allowed to talk?
Is it just me or is that audio awful?
It's pretty bad, yeah.
Okay, audience, let me know if it's like undoable. I mean, I can hear it just fine, but like it does sound awful. I'm just astounded. I'm sorry, I should have checked it, but I guess I just assumed a giant viral tweet from a Joe Rogan experience wouldn't be awful. But let's go and play it.
Have you ever been to Nazi Germany? Are you allowed to have feelings about them? You can't time travel, but you can. But you can travel. Okay, but so what? So what's the point? Like, no, okay. I find that lots of people have been there and agree with me, and lots of people have been there and agree with you. Yeah, but so if you're going to spend a year and a half talking about a place, you should at least do the courtesy of visiting it. All right. I just think this is a non-argument. You don't think? Okay. No, I think it's a non-argument. But if you're an expert, well, you have to go and touch the ground.
If you're an expert,
I think it's a good idea to see stuff, particularly
yeah, he's the worst.
Spend a career talking
this is
about something.
Standard elitism.
Mm-hmm.
I have a journalistic rule of trying never to talk about a country even in passing unless I've at least been there.
And I did want to take a moment to point out that like, did you catch the part where he said, or like he kept re-emphasizing that? Oh, isn't it weird that like, oh, you're not even a historian, and you're like spending all this time. You're not an expert in Israel. You're not an expert in Israel. You just feel like you're. And then he later brought up examples, like multiple examples, like, isn't it weird? Like, oh, when someone's really into journalism, but they're not a journalist, and you're like, but once again, these are all just made up terms. These are just like. If you are doing journalism, you are a journalist. Like if you are doing history, you are presenting history to someone, you are a historian. You may say they're a shitty historian, but they are a historian. So it's just this nonsensical elitism nonsense. It just means you don't meet my standards. That's all it is. But let's keep going.
Okay. It's a sort of normal, it's a normal thing to do. You're talking about, you're talking about crossing points. And not only have you never been to a crossing point in either Egypt or in Israel, but you've never even been to the region. Okay. Again, I think this is a non-argument. I don't understand. No, it's not a non-argument. Yeah, it is.
It is.
It's not a non-argument.
No doubt.
If you're insisting that you're
I can't believe Rogan was putting up with it. I couldn't handle that shit, man.
Well, I mean, there's Rogan. He's trying not to put his finger on the.
I respect it, but I can't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I get what he's doing. I mean, hell, like you know, dude, it was so insane. The off the top, I just can't. I don't understand some of these people. Maybe this is. I mean, obviously, this is to some extent that's why Rogan's huge and I'm not. Like, I'm telling you, if I ever had a guest that like led with the way that he led, I would be disrespectful from the jump.
100%.
And I'm not really like I don't think I've ever really done adversarial things or anything like that. But like, that was just so like he led the thing with literally immediately giving him shit. Oh, what's up, dude?
How's it going, brother?
Yeah, he immediately led it with giving people shit for he was giving him shit for not having enough. I mean, he asked it in a way that was like, ironically, I'm just asking questions, which is another thing he has issues with. But he was just, I'm kind of like, how many people you had, kind of deal. Like, so the whole thing was like comparing and contrasting how many. He's essentially accusing him of having way more anti-Israel people, and even then they framed it as like, wild anti-Israel critics as opposed to pro-Israel. So it's like he presents as you're having these fringe crazies on all over the place, but you're not having enough of the opposite, which is just frankly not true. If anything, like hell, our sphere, everyone in our sphere thinks fucking Rogan's a Fed and that like all these like teal and all these different things are fucking glow niggers. Like this is what these fucking people like. They think this. So I don't know. It's just. it's frustrating.
Absolutely. No, I think that there's far more to the idea and the notion that he's potentially just running defense as some sort of Rothschild agent of
Yeah.
narrative control, who's attempting to again label anyone who has a dissenting voice at this very moment who doesn't fall into this standard of intellectual elitism, and don't have some sort of diploma claiming that they are an advanced historian right before they even imagine having an opinion on any of these right consequential subjects but the whole point being he's basically just a gatekeeper, and I think that he's really just staging, you know, in my mind he's just offering up false narratives and in order to misdirect public perception and also conflate the idea that, you know, because it's so crazy to me that like Dave is he's Jewish, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so it's like what? It's just so insane that consistently
This guy heard his name.
Glory nigger speaking. That's great, dude.
What's up, dude? Good morning. Go on. Sorry,
man. It's just it's a little bit frustrating to watch. You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't know. It's to hear him like. And by the way, how perfect was it? You know, for him mentioning the. Douglas Murray saying, "Oh, Dave Smith, you went on Jake Shields' podcast. Basically, he doesn't believe that 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust."
That'll be us now. You know what? Yes, I do. I don't believe it, motherfucker.
100%. Numbers are up in the air, my friend.
Dude, there were so many moments that in that interview that I was like, man, if I was Dave, I would just be like literally, Chad, yes. Like there were so many times they'd be like, yeah. It's. And they'd be like, "Oh, why you do this?" Because fuck you, I want to. Like, but yeah. Anyways, I'm still just astounded he led with that. Let's. Well, actually, I don't even give a shit about finishing this one. Do you want to finish this video? Because I mean, I feel like it's more of the same. It's just, it is nothing but a circular argument of that. Like you haven't been there. I also want to bear in mind. I literally shared. I probably should actually brought this up, but I shared yesterday some Palestinian guy who shared a photo of him and said, "Hey, somebody should let Douglas Murray know that a propaganda tour is not, it doesn't really count." And then there's like a photo of him like literally receiving an award from the IDF or something for great journalism and blah blah blah. So it's like, come on, let's be real. Like, dude, the idea that you're like, oh, you're some fucking dude that's like, I don't know, like you're not a man of the people. You just aren't.
Yeah,
I feel like Dave Smith has a better feeling on the ground, the real ground, than probably fucking Murray does, because he's being waltzed in by Israel and being shown all this propaganda tour and all this. So like,
hey, Douglas, what happens if Dave all of a sudden had a pro-Israel take? Would he be an expert? It's like basically that's what would happen in my mind. So it's
basically, because that's kind of what he's doing. It's like the experts are the ones who have the correct opinion, because it's like he's still stuck in this idea of like I mean, it's an academic idea, to be honest. The idea of what's it called? The idea of the academic, like when everyone comes to essentially agreement, they use this all the time in climate science. Even though it's not true, the idea that there's a why can't I think of the word where everyone agrees essentially? I know in science, I can't think of the term. How can I think of the term? It's ridiculous. It's such an easy fucking consensus. There you go. So the idea is that there's a scientific consensus, which I will grant, if we actually had a reliable scientific system in the United States, which we have shown in the past decade, especially with COVID, how fucking flawed that system is. Yeah, there'd be something there. I think there is something true. Like if you are actually applying the scientific method and properly, reviewing all these different scientific stuff, and you go like the technical scientific method of like, going through peer review and all this and that and this, but it's actually a fairly decent process. The problem is all the other things that come into play along the way, the ways you can fucking manipulate things. So yeah, I mean, like if there was, in a certain sense, like, yeah, it'd be great if we could have consensus, but the same thing happens in history as well. So like the idea that we have consensus on some idea, and it's like, oh, historians have already come to an idea on this, and it's like, that doesn't fucking matter. There's so many things that there's historical quote unquote consensus on that it's no, we could probably damn near provably show you no, it's not the case. The colloquial understanding of this, or even the typical historian perspective on this, may be wrong on whatever given thing it is. So
you already know, man.
Yeah,
I think I am very much unplugged from believing that documented history is in any sort of accurate portrayal of right. Like honestly, it seems like all of recorded history for the most part has just been a psychological operation in many ways. But so yeah, I at this point, I'm just much more inclined to believe that this is some sort of narrative control. It's hard for me to understand why he would even have done this, if it, except for the fact that, yeah, as you mentioned, he'll have some sort of, you know, support as far as the reactionary support that will. I don't know. And clearly, if you go on Rogan, you're going to get a bump because there's a lot of retards out there that I'm sure believe what he's saying, or at least at the very least pro-Israel.
I mean,
But
even just even if they really you aren't well received, I still feel like a Rogan bump would still be huge. I mean, now the problem you may run into is now you have a bunch of people subscribe because they hate you. But yeah, so yeah. Sorry, scroll the chat. All right, yeah, let's get into the next topic. And then we'll finally get into the fires one I think we've been lingering on wanting to cover for a while. This is from my buddy Ken Silva. He says, why is Trump's DOJ hiding an FBI informant's deposition on the Oklahoma City bombing? So there's new stuff on this. Recently, just to give you a summation of what's going on, the more recent news recently, Jesse Trentadue, who I've talked about the show plenty of times, he's a shit. You guys who know the narrative, you guys know that Jesse is currently under a gag order for one of his many different lawsuits that he's going after for the Oklahoma City bombing. And I guess he just recently applied for that to be, or made a motion. I'm no legal expert, whatever the hell you got to do in order to push for it to be unsealed. So he's trying to get that information that was from a long time ago. I think it's well over a decade at this point. I forget exactly the year when he first was gagged. But it's been a while that that's been the case. So now this is in reference to what he's trying to be unsealed is what is in reference to an individual named John Matthews. Now, John Matthews, this guy was a PATCON operative. Now, this is essentially the right-wing equivalent. Maybe equivalent might be overstating it. Similar to COINTELPRO, essentially. It's right-wing. COINTELPRO for the right wing. It's probably a good way to think of it. And now this permeates everything from Waco and maybe even before up until probably around Obama, Fast and Furious, something.
I have super brief explanation of PATCON. It won't take but 1 second. Short for Patriot Conspiracy, covert FBI operation that didn't just secretly infiltrate right-wing domestic extremist groups. The real objective in PATCON had been to seed infiltrators and to incite these fringe groups to violence. They even created fake militia groups like the Veterans Aryan Movement, as well as running entrapment-based sting operations. So, yeah, apparently 91 was when it officially began, according to the official narrative.
Was it like 93 or 94 or is when they stopped? So you said 91 is when they started or something?
July 15th, 93, 6 months after the siege of the Branch Davidian compound. Yeah,
which I recently covered. I had Jonathan Franklin and Richard Booth on a while ago, and God, what the fuck? What did you just say? There was something that I totally just completely blanked it. What the fuck I was going to say?
Just that it allegedly had stopped in July of 93, 6 months after Branch Davidians.
I remember PATCON to Waco. We talked about. I think this is from notes that were in Roger Charles, who was a Oklahoma City bombing writer. That I guess Wendy Painting and Richard both have bits of his notes. And in those notes, there was stuff about I keep blanking this. Waco in relation to PATCON. That I guess the idea was there was something to imply, and I think the implication is maybe we're about to get the actual full-on source, because it seemed like a tease. We should probably maybe get more from Richard, but I think this is getting ready to be dropped, and I think her name is Margaret Roberts' book. It's called like Blowback or something, I think, about Oklahoma City bombing. That should be dropping here soon. It might not already be out. I forget. Either way, that's dropping soon. I think that might be in there. This little tidbit that was, I believe, in Roger Charles' stuff about the fact, and this is in relation to Matthew stuff, that supposedly there was some sort of supply, what's the word, like re-upping or whatever. Why can't I think of words today? But essentially a resupply that was essentially going to the Waco compound around the time this shit was going down. And I think the implication is there was some sort of criminal elements which within whatever fucking was resupplying some other entity. and the implication being that this was used as some sort of pretense in some sort. So the idea being like, oh, this is what led to it. So then they get, obviously, I would assume, I mean, I don't know enough about the specific thing here, and I think maybe in the next few months we probably might know what the specifics here. But I would presume that it was literally probably some group, and there was probably an informant in there. And I wouldn't even be surprised if the informant was the one who manufactured some sort of crime or some sort. And then from there, that was able to be used as a pretense to be able to go in. They go, oh, we have this. Obviously, we haven't seen that pretense because likely it probably doesn't look good in retrospect or gives up official things. But they do it so many times. They'll have like something like this, and then they blame it on something else later, or they don't do it. That way, if it ever gets to the root cause, you can go, oh, yeah, there was a criminal here, blah, blah. We don't know that he's an informant. But anyways, back to Matthews. He was a PATCON operative, as you explained what PATCON was. And he around the time, I think he saw that Trinidad was dropping, because he was doing all these different FOIA lawsuits and stuff, and he saw that Trinidad was dropping documents with Matthews' name in it. Somehow he was getting different documents here, they're doing FOIAs, this, that, and I think John Matthews came to him and was kind of like, what the fuck? And then, because his name was out there, so I think it was really kind of an oversight by the FBI, if you think about it, because they were released Matthews' name and some of the documents that somehow got out. Right. And so because of that, Matthews was like, what the hell? He wants to give him the real story. There's a whole interesting, side tangent about the Newsweek story, because I guess initially he went to Newsweek because Trinidad knew someone at Newsweek and was like, yo, we'll hook you the fuck up. We'll get you a dope fucking article to kind of expose all this. And then by the time it went through the entire editorial process, they had essentially a damn near entirely new story that took out everything that was like really saucy. It just basically became like here's this guy that went to, was going undercover in neo-Nazis, and how great is that, type deal. Yeah. Like when in reality, his story was like, yo, here's all the crazy shit we're doing. I think they're aggravating this, blah, blah, blah. Like he was kind of like, what the fuck? Well, when that happened, that's when Matthews was like, okay, what the hell? This is clearly like, I want to work with you, legally. And so that's when he was going to come out and, essentially under oath, go in court and say all his piece of like stuff he did in PATCON, naming and now up into including stuff like individuals he saw there. Like, for example, right here, you see he saw McVeigh in 94 with a German national named Andy Strassmeyer. So he saw Andy Strassmeyer and McVeigh together, which anyone who knows Oklahoma City bombing, that's a big deal. Like connecting those two, like there's only like a handful of connections of times you can say they met each other. But the thing is, Andy only ever claimed one time. He claimed they met one time randomly at a gun show. Whereas when you look into it, and there's all sorts of other different accounts of other times they met, one of which is from Matthews. So this is kind of a big deal. Anytime you can corroborate McVeigh meeting with Strassmeyer, and this was at TLI. This is in San Saba in Texas. This is where Dave Holloway, a CIA fucking, he was a pilot for the CIA who was working there. That's where Andy Strassmeyer, a German national who had previously been staying with a CIA individual named Vince Petruski, who was an Air Force OSI agent, military intelligence, who almost certainly was involved in Operation Phoenix. So once again, just throwing just all that there. That's a lot, right? But yeah, so we have McVeigh, we have this guy, corroborating the meeting of McVeigh and Andy Strassmeyer, which is an important thing. There's other things he corroborates as well throughout this, but this all kind of culminated into when it came time for him to go to court. He actually called Robert Charles and said, I can't do it. Roger Charles actually went under oath and told the court all this. So Roger Charles, who's dead now, he wrote Oklahoma City Bombing, What It Missed and Why It Still Matters. Now he on under oath claimed that that Matthews talked to him and said that, hey, they're threatening you're threatening me, essentially. They said I shouldn't go on they're going to take away my VA benefits. For anyone who was military and understand, I haven't ever applied for VA benefits. It's one of those ones I always kind of kick around. Maybe I should, because it's like, man, it's basically free money, but it feels gross because it's like welfare. But at the same time, the government steals money from me. So anyways, beside the point, but he was prior military. He actually was military and then went and joined PATCON after his military service. Because he just still was, he said it was like a patriotic thing. Like that was, he really wanted to, and it was literally him getting disillusioned with it later that caused him to leave and also speak out, because it was kind of like, I don't think we're doing good things here, essentially, is the way he framed it. But anyways, he claimed they were going to take away his VA benefits like disability. So when you go in the military, I mean, anyone who's, retired from the military or even just did one term or whatever, damn near anyone who gets out of the military applies for military disability, which is different from normal civilian disability. Like, and you can literally have 100% military disability and still work. Like, it doesn't preclude you from working, and 100% is probably in the realm of like 2+ K a month for free, and it's tax free too. So, and I know so many people who really aren't fucked up at all, and they'll readily admit to you, like, yeah, I got like 80, 90, 100%. Like, I'm fucking just killing it, dude. Like, and I don't know, I just always felt gross to me. But either way, point being, Matthews being prior military, and he had that as well, as most of them do. And so what they did is said, hey, if you're going to do it, you're almost certainly will likely lose your VA benefits. So they're threatening his income essentially. So, and from there, that's when they reported that to the court that was the case, and ever since then, the rest has been history. They appointed a special master over it that was essentially create like a separate legal proceeding that now, and then they put gags on everyone involved that they can't talk about specifically things related to this. And the idea is eventually, I mean, I guess it's been something retarded like over a fucking decade. I probably should here 2008. Yeah, that's was that 17 years? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's been 17 years under a gag order, nothing have happened, because once they reported this, there's like, oh, we're going to investigate to see, because obviously that would be FBI witness tampering. So,
dude,
yeah,
that is so crazy, man. Just I'm so happy that Strassmeyer connection though, like that is beautiful, especially considering he was the smoking gun for me. I don't know how he isn't for everyone. Basically, he is that, to OKC in my mind, especially considering I didn't realize that Vincent Petruski, who he was living with for a time, he had said that he was a former CIA guy my father had known. And his father, Helmut Kohl, right? Like, as far as like the connections there, like, what? Like that alone. Remember that came up, the Helmut Kohl connection, in regard to when I was covering was it the OTS? It was just like extraordinary to me, because it provided another glimpse into Gladio at the time, because that very much seemed to have been a factor here. You talk about Phoenix. Well, then, yes. How is that not an extension of, direct?
That's my overall theory. I think this is domestic Gladio right here. Like,
exactly, man.
That's I mean, obviously, it's not something I can prove, but there's a whole lot of patterns I can put in display in front of you. And like, I think most rational people will be like, I'm leaning a little bit towards you guys did it.
Exactly, dude.
So I just feel like you almost have to like bend over backwards to really try to ignore anything that implicates that. Like, I understand people are like, fucking, like, I don't know, I'm trying to be reasonable, like, I don't know, that's not provable, but like, at the same time, like, I don't know, if I'm like, what, like, do you give that any credence? If you don't give it any credence, I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, I don't know, maybe it would take for a longer discussion. Oh shit, forgot about this too. I think I might have actually covered this somewhat recently.
Which makes sense.
Yep, Strassmeyer which that's confirmed, and I think
you
I
know
want to say
what?
Vincent. But real quick, I want to mention the comment for the listeners. Tim Tuttle said he was also trying to help Strassmeyer obtain Boeing 747. So, all right, go ahead. You probably know what I'm talking about. If you want to,
yeah, no, I mean, my only point is just that it mirrors that of I mean, shit, brother. How many different airlines do we want to not only do we have...
It was Lufthansa, which is a German one, by the way. But go on.
Right, but I'm just like, consider even Barry Seal kind of fits this playbook, but Silkway Airlines, Stephen Paddock, Air America, and the Finders, and Epstein, and then you have Dave Holloway, who's running Intermountain Aviation and Evergreen Aviation, which is legitimately outed as a CIA front company for clandestine services. So. Yeah, man. I mean, like, this is exactly how they run covert operations domestically. And again, it makes all the sense in the world that this would be directly interconnected, mirroring so many other operations that we've uncovered. So the details, dude, my God, too consistent as far as that very playbook is concerned,
Yeah, but all right, let me put one finishing touch on this, and we'll move on. I mean, we can, because I know we want to talk about the Finders. I think we were going to talk about Larry Ellis. I don't think we have time for that, but I did want to put a bow on this, and because the whole point of like how this is kind of relevant, as I said, they moved to unseal it, but here's the issue: is Deputy AG Roth moved to keep it sealed. So, and this is a new administration. So the key thing is like, we've had previous administrations for this. Obviously, we had Biden, we had Trump, but like, and now this is a second term Trump. So I think trying to even apply like, hey, yo, I knew this wasn't going to happen before. Obviously, he didn't say yo,
Yeah.
But like he knew like this is like likely like in the past that like, oh, this is gonna be sealed. It makes sense. Like Biden administration, this, that. But if anything, it's like, hey, new administration, let's try again. And this one still. So new boss, old boss, same deal. That's kind of the whole point. We're still here. For those who are like, oh, I mean, I guess we've kind of already seen this between Epstein and like, I guess not really JFK, but I mean, I feel like really like, I don't know, I feel like people realize like anyone in the know, like after digging through JFK stuff, you're like, oh, okay, all right, cool. I guess we already knew it, huh?
Exactly, man.
Yeah. So, but anyways, that's all I have to say on that. I mean, we could definitely spend a whole lot more time. There's far more like ways to jump off that. Even just talking about the FOIA request, like these has multiple FOIA lawsuits he's done, all of which for one, like he's even just starting this. I'll mention it real quickly. I thought it was really slick. Like the first one that he started, I believe it was his first one, the one that was particularly on the surveillance tapes. He they normally it says in his article, I didn't know this. I don't know. I mean, according to Ken, he says this is the only one he's aware of, and that he's only been able to find the only FOIA lawsuit. So I didn't realize it was this unique. But I guess they usually almost always get thrown out. But the thing is, the slick move that Jesse pulled is he requested it, they denied, and that's usually when it just gets thrown out. They denied it, but then that's when he revealed the Secret Service investigation that proved they proved said in their documentation that they saw the fucking the surveillance tapes, and on top of all that, on the John Doe 2 points, this is surveillance tapes and John Doe 2 in this one little take right here. The Secret Service documents claim down to the minute when they say that the John Doe 2 came out of the truck. So they document, Tim McVeigh stepping out. They even say it looks like Tim McVeigh or resembling Tim McVeigh, and then they document the exact timestamp when John Doe 2 steps out of the truck. So, which is that's stuff, right?
That's so funny. These motherfuckers, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could mention the was it Newsweek? I might have fucked up when I said Newsweek earlier. I always mix up. I did want to mention the.
I gotta get one more cup of coffee.
Yeah, go get one more coffee. I'll try to find it real quick because I wanted to bring up the.
Let me respond, Sloppy Toppy. I'm sorry, bro. I'll read it today. I'm sorry, dude. I've been busy. Sorry, Jules.
No, you're good.
Sorry, Jose.
Yeah, you're good. I was looking to. You good? Go get coffee. I just wanted to look for the one. I said Newsweek. I was right. I said Newsweek right. My first one. It's a different one that says later on the John Doe 2 stuff. There was a Fed who tried to sell the fucking the surveillance tapes, and that was been documented. So I was just trying to skim through that, see if I can find it. I know it was mentioned in there. I just wanted to give you a little bit more on that while he goes and gets his coffee. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Trendadu also showed the judge FBI records and contemporaneous news reports about an agent who allegedly tried selling the surveillance footage to NBC News. According to the leaked October 95 FBI memo, so it's a literal memo, an attorney representing an FBI agent in LA had contacted the NBC show Dateline, offering to sell surveillance footage for more than $1 million. I'll go ahead and give you the spoiler here. That didn't fucking happen. There was literally an informant in Dateline, in NBC, that ratted him out and it fucking stopped that from happening. I mean, glowies everywhere. Let's look at this memo real quick because I just kind of want to, prove this is legit. Here we go. Here we see the memo. It says protect identity, NBC mole. So yeah, they literally have a mole in here. Jesus Christ. See, October 27, 1995, a confidential source, redacted, telephonically contacted SA or special agent, redacted. The source related that Dateline, an NBC television show, had been contacted by an unknown attorney representing a Los Angeles agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. On behalf of the agent, the attorney offered to sell a copy of the surveillance tape recovered from Oklahoma City, which shows the activity outside the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building just prior to the bomb blast. It was represented that the videotape would contain time-lapse photography of the arrival and then departure of a UPS truck. Then a Ryder truck pulls up and a male resembling Timothy McVeigh. Now, I want you to keep a note on this, or make a note of this. CMCVEY. Now, to be fair, we can give this guy the benefit of the doubt and say that he just fucked up. He misspelled his name. That's not how McVeigh's name is spelled. Why I'm mentioning this? This is actually something this is actually not even just an Oklahoma City bombing thing, but I've seen it a ton in the Oklahoma City bombing. It's also rife in many other ones, especially like from the times where things were analog, stored that way. There are so many cases, especially Strassmeyer, of misspelling, and there's times where it seems intentional. Where there's names aren't even hard to spell, and there's just retarded spellings. and to a ridiculous degree. And the reason being is so that it prevents people from being able to easily find these records later via search. So think about trying to find a key term when it's completely misspelled. So that's it's a common Fed trick. But all right, let's finish it. Oh fuck! I accidentally knocked over my mouse. Let me finish this. There's one paragraph left. The source related to the attorney is asking for over $1 million for the tape. As proof of his access to the tape, the attorney turned over to NBC what appeared to be the 6-page search log from the April 22nd, 1995 FBI search of 109 South 2nd Street, Harrington, Kansas, bearing file number blah, blah. The log includes a list of firearms seized, includes the names of recording and searching agents and their initials. So I don't know if you were aware of that little tidbit, Austin. I covered it while you were gone. That was in the thing that I found it. The idea that there was that one, there was literally a Fed that tried to sell the surveillance footage to NBC Dateline, and informant in NBC ratted him out, and that stopped it from happening. So
yeah, dude.
By the way, thanks Tooth Chipper for tagging me in this to get me aware of this thing. I mean, obviously, I probably would have been tagged eventually, but appreciate you were on it, Johnny on the spot. But go ahead, bud. Sorry.
Oh, I just remember that that did at least a part of the surveillance tapes did come up because it was specifically described by the media at the time. Do you remember as far as they were describing exactly what was in the surveillance tapes that the FBI would not basically provide them at the time?
Yeah, I'll find it for you real quick, actually. But go on.
Yeah. I just always thought that specifically, I covered that whenever I did the 2-part I didn't realize that I did episode 8, 9, and 10 were all basically 8 was basically kind of the bare bones of like general pardon and basically kind of like understanding a little bit more of just really, let's say, the origins of the bombing itself, right? And covering specific aspects of Timothy McVeigh as well, a little bit more. And then I believe the next episode is when I specifically covered. Yeah, I remember now. Episode 8, I basically covered Tim McVeigh and went into the sheep dipped aspect of things and that. And then I believe in the episode 9, that's when I went into I called it A Tale of Two Suicides. That's what it was. And it was obviously Kenneth Trinidad and Terrence Yeaky, but and then episode 10 was Waco, right? So it's very obvious. I had done Ruby Ridge, OKC, and Waco. Those were like all in order. And to me, there's a reason, because it very much served as like the ultimate red pill, as far as my waking up moment and through like my discovery of, because I had been listening to Scott Horton for forever. And when he had Jesse Trinidad on and he was really kind of exposing, basically, there was this one conversation they had. It was about 30 minutes that I remember specifically, where Jesse mentioned this sensitive informant program that the FBI was running.
Yeah, shit's wild.
And dude, it blew me away. I was like, hold on. Like, I understand how
this is part of why I think that a lot of the judges were motivated. I've actually surprisingly kind of fallen on, while I did mention it's been 17 years sealed and this and that and this and that, it's still, once again, it's never worth not mentioning that Jesse Trinidad's case is like an aberration in a sense. Like this is unusual. Much in the same case when you look at like the Whitmer kidnapping and you go, oh my God, look at these multiple people who got off for entrapment or whatever. That's odd too. Like if you look at the statistics of the prosecution rate of feds when it comes to that, it's like something retarded, like well over 90%. The idea that any of them got off is really a damning indictment of the whole thing.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean,
100%.
it's yeah.
And you consider how when I was doing the Vegas episode, the Vegas shooting, Eric Holder, pops up as a key prominent figure, and in terms of where he overlaps with this is that, and a reason why I'm not too shocked that this recent kind of like attempted basically they're attempting to keep this from being disclosed to the public. I think that is the par for the course, very much so, especially considering Eric Holder and his Trentadue mission,
Yeah.
specifically
Trying to
named
do's and don'ts is what
Trentadue
they called
mission.
it. Trying to do
Yes.
do's and don'ts is what they called it. Yeah.
To shut down
Mhm.
any honest investigation into Kenneth Trenadue's death. And Holder flexed his muscle on Senator Orrin Hatch from Utah, who had publicly stated an interest in a potential investigation in a statement on Fox News. And but that sensitive informant program, he was discussing these various lawsuits and FOIA requests that obviously he was consistently pursuing, and that's when he stumbled upon that program, which he claims started around that exact same time as the OKC bombing.
And they were infiltrating courts was the big thing.
That's
what I was driving at. This is part of why I think this is likely. I mean, I forget. I would have to look and see when this happened in all the trial proceedings and when that was revealed. But I think that was probably very much a helpful factor when you're like, hey, judge, guess what these feds are doing? They're even bugging you guys. And it's like, oh, for real? And I don't think they were too happy about that. I know usually the government kind of is like the government investigates the government and shows the government did nothing wrong. But like, this government was not it doesn't seem to be a fan of what the other government was doing. And it looks like maybe there's a little bit more to that one. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And just the main point of what the crux of why I found it so extraordinary was the level of how you would compromise the justice system, and how it revealed itself in the course of the trials regarding the OKC bombing. I mean, my God, Tim McVeigh and Terry Nichols trials, like what? You go through the details of what was provided to
every single eyewitness saw Timothy McVeigh with a second person on the day of, before and after the bombing. They provided none of them in the trial to an oath or anything like that. The official narrative became that they were all mistaken about their second identity that they saw.
So hilarious.
And they also, I do want to say, they didn't technically bring them to court, but they did. I guess in a sense, like the main legal proceeding. Once again, I'm not a lawyer, so stuff's confusing for me. I'm retarded. But essentially, like the pre-trial or whatever, they did have proceedings, and they used them to confirm that McVeigh was there and that it was him, I believe. But when it came time for actual trial, they were not used, and so they were incapable of being used for like anything else, from my recollection.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. And the court proceedings were just laughable. You know what I mean? Just ridiculous.
Yeah. And think about how quick it would have been if you had 20 plus people that were able to confirm this guy was in it. It would have been. You would think from the prosecution, you would want that. That's like, dude, that's confirmation that the person I'm prosecuting was there at the scene, leaving the explosive device.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really all I can say.
Right. Anyway, my final point on that sensitive informant program, though, before we pivot to our last, unless you have anything left to say.
No, I did want to take a moment just to refocus, especially for our audio listeners. You mentioned earlier the news clipping. Here's one of them. There's multiple that around that time, but this is the one that I see go around the most. It's from Tuscaloosa News. Surveillance tape shows shadowy passenger in bomb truck. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but obviously you get the idea from the thing. So even that was at the time, was it October 26, 1995. So in April, January. So that's like
the tapes where they described how John Doe 2 exited the Ryder truck last, and then was lingering behind in the passenger door, I believe. I can't remember. It might have been the driver's
side. And then a lot of people think that it's like he was trying to turn it off or something. It's like, oh shit.
Either that or he was triggering the explosive.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, which is what I think a lot of people were saying as well. But anyway, according to Jesse, though, this sensitive informant program, as you said, a program where they recruit and place informants on the staffs of federal judges, on defense teams in high-profile criminal cases, and other federal agencies, in the White House, in the clergy, and even at the management level of the mainstream media.
Yep. I mean, we just point out the informant at NBC. So
exactly. So after the Bureau admitted to this unconstitutional action, even acknowledging the existence of the manual that Jesse subsequently requested.
But we should go to the experts. That's
exactly.
trusting, right? Yeah.
Hey, we shouldn't even be.
Keep in mind, this is in the fucking 90s. So for like the implication, I mean, obviously I'm teasing Murray a little bit, but like I feel like somewhat the implication of that angle was that like, oh, the experts used to be kind of better, or it's just recently. Like, no, the experts have been shit from time immemorial. So, but go on.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's just I think he's been so strategically sound in every aspect of this litigation process, Jesse.
Mhm.
Like he's brilliant, man.
Yeah.
And
Which I should be having him on somewhat soon, by the way. I did tell you guys this. I announced a while ago he was supposed to come on, and then I think like we didn't have the time. We had the day down, but we didn't have the time. And then all of a sudden, I got a thing back. Like, oh, just kidding, got to reschedule. We'll have to do it some other time because I would assume it was actually this legal proceeding because there was something about more court stuff, and so like, oh shit. So it was like, oh, I got more court stuff. I can't relate. So I was like, oh shit. And so I think this probably was it. So, but yeah. Austin, is there anything more you want to say on this? I know we have the finders. Literally, we've only covered 1 out of 3 of the titled things today. This might be a day. This will obviously be a day we swap out some of them, but we really wanted to cover the finders. I know we're already at like an hour 50, so it's your call. I know there's no such thing as an Austin topic under 30 minutes. So, I mean, you take your call. You like how long? I mean, obviously we're going to go over 2 hours here if you cover it, and I'm fine with that. I don't want to go too damn long. So it's your call. I mean,
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Shit. We can at least start it a little bit and then continue it on. And I don't know what if.
By the way, I probably won't be here Monday or Tuesday. At least one of them. So one of those days you'll have a solo day. So just.
Okay.
But yeah,
Sounds
we can get
good.
started.
But we'll continue on either way whenever we have because just
we need to talk about it. I need
reasons, you know, in the first place, just because the finders obviously will be crucial in kind of what we're going to discuss with Jake. But
by the way, I'm gonna go hit the bathroom. You go ahead and get started.
Okay, go ahead, buddy. Yeah, I guess we should kind of start just reminding everyone of this brief kind of background of who they refer to as the game caller, Marion Petty himself, and this all very much reminds me. Oh, that's hilarious that you would just say false memory syndrome, Adam Tom Tom Bobby, because I was just thinking how the sensitive informant program that we were just discussing perfectly resembles how the False Memory Syndrome Foundation and the board of directors, or I forget the name of the actual authority. There's a term that they utilized that they basically referenced, you know, the leadership level of the I think it was the board of anyway, it doesn't matter. So the members of the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, though, like Louis Jolly and West, those individuals who were very much embedded in these tactics of MK Ultra mind control techniques, but not only that, obviously. It all kind of stemmed back to trauma-based mind control and the Phoenix Project. You still have, like, to me, they're infiltrating these court cases. They're infiltrating, these federal judges panels. Like, so it very much seemed to. Does that not seem like it's just perfectly resembling and mirroring the same tactics strategically, as far as like the sensitive informant program and the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, both infiltrating legal court cases and kind of casting clouds of doubt around, allegations and certain witness accounts. And so to me, it's just another strategic way to really just compromise the justice system, right? Create some sort of another perfect example of a miscarriage of justice, but how you cannot. It's a pay to play, but also who you know, right? In many ways, and so, but with Marion Petty's background specifically, the game caller is very interesting because he, of course, is allegedly the cult of personality. I mean, not allegedly, but he ran the Finders cult and happened to be a former Air Force Master Sergeant who admitted that his son worked for CIA Front Air America.
Wasn't he OSI too, or no? Office of Special Investigations. I know Petruski was. We mentioned him, but because the reason why is that's military intel. So I just wanted to
But here's what's interesting as well, because you have obviously the FBI vault documents that expose Petty's wife Isabel admittedly working for the CIA from 1951 to 71. And she had even been given those, like in the Oswaldian path, right? She had been given those passports to all these restricted countries, such as North Korea, North Vietnam, the Soviet Union, during the height of the Cold War. So extremely, like, it makes absolutely no sense that she wouldn't be affiliated with intelligence, and that is the only way you would effectively follow that path. And so But anyway, we can really kind of fast forward for the sake of time to the investigative leads memo, because I think that this is something that Derek Bros helped expose and did phenomenal work when he went and interviewed Tobe Terrell, and who was kind of the right hand man of Marion Petty in many ways, and he explained it as basically an intelligence organization, right, and kind of tongue in cheek, which I found hilarious. And so, but Derek Bros, he helped reveal this investigative leads memo to the public, which in 1994, you have journalist Daniel Brandt explaining through this basically an investigative article called Marion Petty and His Washington, D.C. Finders.
Do you have a link for that, or just
No,
okay?
This is one that I had to basically
like transcribe or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I could probably find it though, but I just, for the sake of time, probably not.
I was just going to show them something for the people. I want to look at it.
It is called Marion Petty and His Washington, D.C. Finders, Kooks or Spooks. And it details a meeting with two members of the Finders back in 1984. And Brandt says that at that time, they were going by the name the Information Bank. 3 years later, Brandt was sent a 3-page memo titled Investigative Leads of Unknown Origin, which outlined Marion Petty's alleged intelligence links. This gets crazy because dude, it is the Elm Guest House in 1982. It's the Odyssey Foundation. And so, again, I find myself realizing this is a very well-established pedophile underground that seems to be international in scope. This is not only domestically operating in the U.S., they're trafficking internationally. They're trafficking children. Mm-hmm. And that makes all the sense in the world when you know what was found at the Finder's warehouse with the private peer-to-peer computer systems that had been on a privately secure network where they were discussing basically there were communications with the Chinese embassy about procuring children, and specifically like they
files
had
on Gaza, didn't they, or Palestine?
Oh yeah, Palestinians, dude. Yeah. They had a file on Palestinians. It's one of the craziest things, and
it almost seemed like, just for the audience, what we're getting at is the implication. There were files on different locations. There was also stuff on methods for kidnapping children, and like obviously when you put all these different things together, it looks
babysitting services, right? Daycares. And then all of a sudden you wonder why is the McMartin underground tunnels all of a sudden in the middle of the Finders documents?
Yeah. I wonder what the connection is.
I wonder why.
I wonder if they were intelligence bankers within a community, maybe an intelligence community.
Dude, it's so stupid. Yeah. And for them to be considered like basically a hippie commune in many ways, right? Like that's really what they were considered. But anyway, so the Information Bank, so ridiculous. But this memo, right, remains anonymous as far as the source. But much of the data has been independently verified. And so, according to this memo, in 1939, Petty met a Chinese agent operating under journalistic cover and remained in close contact. It remained in close contact with him throughout World War II. Petty began his intelligence career by working with various OSS contacts. After the war, Petty's Chinese contact introduced him to Charles Marsh at the National Press Club, which apparently members of the Finders would later even brag about designing the National Press Club's website that was being used throughout the 90s. And that makes sense considering Athena Veronis, right, and that interesting connection as the fixer with this company that was called it was basically the Future Enterprises, right, office was the name of this, and it was exposed from this memo that was produced in '93, the State Department inquiry into CIA involvement in the initial investigation right? Which is all a part of what Ramon J. Martinez, the U.S. Customs agent, was claiming was what he was told. Back the fuck off. CIA, they stepped in. This is we cannot pursue this any further. And what was the statement? I forget. I think Dave McGowan referenced that in the Country Walk investigation, which I found so interesting because it seemed to have direct implications to, obviously, to Dutroux, right? But in the Country Walk, he says, obviously, at the very end, he references that Finder's investigation and the Customs memorandum on that investigation, which basically provided this epitaph for the case, which claimed no further information will be available, no further action will be taken. And that was all due to the CIA involvement in the case. So, once again, that is, it's important to remind ourselves of that fact. But
yeah. Speaking of that, reminding of that fact, hit that like button, motherfuckers.
Hit it.
Just saying. I'm only saying. I just noticed there's like 40 in both of our channels right now, like 40 plus, and then also not counting the other platforms. So it should be fucking 40 likes in there.
Exactly.
Just kidding. I love y'all. But go ahead, Austin. Sorry. I just noticed a lot of people. So get that.
Nice. But so yeah, the CIA admitted to running an operation that was a front for domestic computer training operation called Operation Future Enterprises.
Do you know what Strassmeyer's cover was when he came to the States?
What was it?
He worked on computers.
I'm telling you, man.
I mean, it's an easy cover, to be fair. So, like, I'm not saying it's like connected. I'm not saying he was fucking finding children and bringing them to the finders.
But still, I mean, and also you consider what Hillary Clinton was popped for whenever she had that private server.
Sorry, I didn't mean it. My bad. I think it was Holloway that I mentioned earlier. Dave Holloway, the TLA guy. I want to say it was him. It was giving him like $1,000 or $2,000 a month or something like that of a stipend as a computer something or other, some made up business. Yeah,
he's the one that isn't he the one that I heard
the country
was
after? Yeah,
he was like definitely, but also wasn't he trying to distribute pornography?
That's Roger Moore.
That was Roger Moore. Okay. But I'm just saying, like,
but he was a CIA and FBI asset as well. Like,
there you go. Yeah, I mean, so for me,
there's so many people is around this. Just
exactly.
Go.
I always considered there's no fucking way you would be distributing pornography out of your trunk like this if it's legal.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I mean, this was once again. I'm not. This was the 80s, 90s. Right? Yeah, I know what you mean. But we remember back then where people would sell like bootleg tapes and stuff.
Sure.
But like then to do it as porn and like to be like, yo, I can get it. But like, it's just odd. I don't know who the fuck is like, what is odd? Also, like you could just go buy, like people would buy, who's buying porn from a back alley? Like even in the 90s or whenever the hell this happened, when you would have physical ones, people would sell bootlegs. Yeah, you would go on the street and you see some dude selling bootlegs, copies of whatever thing. But like the idea that you were going to do that with porn and some it's just bizarre. I don't know. It does make me think something else is going on for sure. So
absolutely. To me, my mind goes directly into the darkest clandestine corner of intelligence. I believe that you would have to imagine it would be illegal, and that so my mind lingers into the potential reality of what that might consist of, which is terrible. But I want to address Adam Tom Bobby. Thank you so much. Nothing but love, brother. Appreciate you. Yeah, so I'm really almost done. We can I felt like establish this very briefly, kind of remind everyone that this dude, CIA Operation Future Enterprises, this woman, Athena Veronis, was known as the fixer for this network. And it's just at this point, it's as it was exposed in Tallahassee in '87, just after the arrest took place. They went into cover-up mode. That was exactly what happened. Why did all the unmarked vans show up to the finder's warehouse? Apparently throwing files or massive boxes of files and documents into these vans. To me, that was a procurement operation. They were clearly trafficking internationally, and it must have been human trafficking in every single possible way, at least what was discovered what was even remaining was still so damning, which is why the CIA had to infiltrate the case to begin with, and cut off the honest and integral investigators who were actually pursuing this in an objective and meaningful way. And so they were obviously, like Ramon J. Martinez, his character was entirely assassinated, and basically he was forced into retirement, and really he is just at this point he rejects. He doesn't even want to make any public statements because he believes what will even come of it, anything positive. He's very but anyway, it's understandable at this point. But so the CIA spokesman at the time, David Christian, called the charges ridiculous about this basically this CIA admitting to running this Operation Future Enterprises. Apparently it had gone bad. This is the context. And that they had accidentally hired a member of the Finders cult, but dismissed him when the connection to the group was exposed just after the arrest took place in Tallahassee in 1987. So the CIA spokesman at the time, David Christian, of course, calls these charges ridiculous, but then proceeds to admit that the CIA sent some employees to a company called Future Enterprises Incorporated for computer training in the 1980s. Wonder, my God, dude. So it's probably Andreas Strauss,
right? He was sitting next desk over.
For real.
Just back up, just at his desk.
So crazy. Yeah. So Vice President of Future Enterprises, Joseph Moranich, said the company has trained CIA employees in computer use and continues to do so. And he also admitted that one prominent Finders member named Robert Gardner Terrell, better known as Tobe Terrell, who even owned one of the raided properties, was a former IRS employee and happened to work for the company Future Enterprises before he was let go in February 1987, exactly the same month that the arrest took place.
Do you know where David Gledy got his start?
Dude, where did he get his start?
The IRS.
Oh,
I can't remember what he was doing. He framed as he's doing something weird. I'd have to go back and rewatch it to remember exactly what he said he was doing. But it's like it was odd. You're like and then he said that something about, I want to say he said something like the IRS, then like essentially like kind of referred him to like the cops or something. And then I think that went from I forget. It's bizarre. Like
yes, I remember this now actually, and I found that very strange as well.
Weird. Like what?
Moment.
Okay,
but
maybe this is how this works. I have no fucking idea.
It could very well
be. These niggas be stealing our money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, not that crazy.
So Tobe Terrell, right? He also would later author a book. This book was known as The Game Caller, and it implicated an FBI agent by the name of Athena Veronis as the fixer, largely responsible for the cover-up. She was also the woman, an FBI agent that the character Clarice Starling was loosely based on in the film Silence of the Lambs. We have another blurring of the lines between reality and fiction, right? Pop culture. What is happening here? You know, and so in his book, Tobe Terrell claims that FBI agent Athena Veronis met with him downstairs at the Future Enterprises office and told him, "We're going to put a lid on this thing." She would later be the very authority who completely denounced Ramon J. Martinez in the U.S. Customs documents, claiming that Agent Martinez had made all of it up, falsifying evidence in a selfish, self-serving effort to achieve a potential promotion, although his entire career was derailed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just occasionally, when you want a promotion, just make up a whole child trafficking network, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She also conveniently became the first FBI liaison for NCMEC, NCMEC, which, you know what that is?
That black kid with the
National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Wow.
Well, you mean the repository of literally all the child porn that's ever been taken in the United States? Oh, what would they ever want with that?
Exactly. It's just that, what do you even do? You have to throw your hands up in the air at this point.
All right, cool. Yeah. We got glowy fucking criminal feds with child porn access, and you wonder why their go-to is fucking is this sort of blackmail shit. Like, it really, I don't know, it is hard because like with that thing, like what do you do? I mean, I get the idea of like storing those, but at the same time, then you have the feds that have access to it, and you're like, oh, well, of course they're gonna use it for their own ends. So I mean, to be fair though, I guess I prefer that them creating their own child porn, but they're probably doing that too. So
Exactly.
you know, I mean, I guess if we got to reuse old child porn or make new ones, reuse the old one, all right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
It already exists, so like, don't make new ones.
I think of Laura Silsby instantly when that comes up because you know, just getting placed, put back onto the Amber Alert systems, you know, as a leading official authority.
That's a Haiti bitch, right? Yeah, she came back, she got fucked. Oh, there we go. Now this. So
Yep. Yeah. And so it just perfectly, you know, in the same vein at the very least. And so. Anyway, we could finish this small portion of the investigative leads memo and then just end it if you're down with that.
Yeah, I want to run through some of the comments after, but yeah, go for it.
Sounds good. So this memo, this is where it gets nuts, and honestly, it could lead to far more of a conversation regarding the Elm Guest House in 1982 and the Odyssey Foundation, but we should put a pin in that until next opportunity because it would probably be a little bit too long of a conversation, too many details. It would be a little dense, but so this
By
is
the way,
crazy.
they're arguing about fat Earth in the comments, but go on.
Fat Earth?
Yeah, you heard of flat Earth? We're moving on to that.
Okay,
we're on to fat Earth now. No, I'm just kidding. I fucked up. My mush mouth said meant to say flat Earth, but go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny that of all things are arguing about flat Earth and getting pretty testy about it too. If I might add. Which whatever. Who cares?
Oh, I don't know if I actually acknowledged Sloppy Toppy earlier, dude. It's no problem. You're not bothering me at all, buddy. And I'll read through that MK Ultra shit for sure. But so. According to this memo, though, right, he meets this Chinese agent operating under journalistic cover. So then you have, of course, the National Press Club's website allegedly being designed by the Finders organization, again, falling in place with that sort of computer training front. And so Marsh is a journalist connected to LBJ and FDR and often suspected of CIA ties, by the way. And apparently, you know, this is Charles Marsh at the National Press Club, right, who was the individual after the war that Petty's Chinese contact introduced him to. So Marsh, of course, being this Operation Mockingbird connected to LBJ and FDR and suspected of these CIA ties. So then the memo alleges that in 1946, while Marion Petty was working, here's the interesting tie-in to a strange synchronicity involving a private chauffeur company directly tying in Marion Petty and his brothers in the Finders case to the North Fox Island Spartacus Network Odyssey Foundation. Yes.
Boom. Mic drop. We're out. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, honestly.
We won't see you tomorrow, Monday.
Right.
Maybe you'll get a bonus episode, but sorry, Buck, go ahead.
Right. No, but it's
this mic drop,
it's just like, again, you just consistently, we were revealing a recycled playbook, you know, in the memo showing that Marion Petty was working as a chauffeur to General Ira Aker. Marsh arranged for him to be trained in counterintelligence during this time. So Marion Petty also chauffeured the likes of J. Edgar Hoover. Think about the parties at the...
Wait, say that again. Petty chauffeured him?
Yes.
Like him physically himself?
Yeah.
I mean, I must have missed that detail. So you're saying he not only did they have the chauffeur thing, he was part of it?
Yes, man.
Oh,
Marion Petty himself was trained in counterintelligence as a chauffeur.
Oh, as a chauffeur. For some reason, I missed the Marion. Okay. Oh, fuck, dude.
He was the driver of General Ira Aker, and he also chauffeured J. Edgar Hoover, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Harry Truman, and LBJ.
Dude.
Yes. Dude.
And okay. Obviously, I feel like the normies, or even not even normies, but people who haven't read like a shitload on this topic, that's not, you're like, okay, all right. But to me and you, I've read a shitload of this topic. Like we were talking about this the other day, the idea of like driving companies, Secret Service, the people that surround these people, the people that you can't remove from the situation, drivers and Secret Service, like security and transportation, those two are key, especially transportation, since transportation has to be also transporting the goods.
Exactly.
So like, and this is a common thing. It's so often Seville is the one that comes to mind of top. I believe was it Dean Core? I know so many. There was literally like it's almost damn near every single major fucking child trafficking network. It's usually some sort of driving company you find it attached to it, or rumors of it being attached to. So it's almost like finding this little finders is like, are we peeling back the layers to where like we're finding it's almost as if like the drivers and the Secret Service are almost like the drivers, if you will, behind the whole situation. So it's almost as like them being the finders cult. They're the root of it. It's almost like you're getting down to like they're the ones providing these people these things. They're the ones who organize. Like they're also likely they're probably the ones getting blackmail as well. So while people just simply think, oh, this is a guy driving someone back and forth, I feel like there's a whole lot more fucking going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And this is the impression that I'm under as far as exactly why I wanted to bring up what basically was the Elm Guest House of 1982, because it provides another perfect example of this strange network of a private chauffeur service of drivers who are essentially facilitating a pedophile network in the Elm Guest House. And this is all tied back to Club Spartacus and the Odyssey Foundation. And so this illegal brothel in the Elm Guest House was raided in 1982, but it was later proven that essentially there were let me try and find it here, because there was a direct implication in a driving service that I think is extremely important and what I wanted to highlight. But I'm trying to remember where exactly I found it. But let's see. I might have to just come back and make this point on Monday or a different time, because I had it lined up, but it's been quite a while, honestly, at this point, since
we got Q Bert's thing. Y'all niggas gonna be lined up against the wall at the same time as I am in first. And I'll be talking shit till it's over, and it'll be an hour with y'all boys next to me. I'll die proud. I fuck with y'all for real. I don't know why I made a Southern black man, but that made sense to me.
Oh my god, dude.
So thanks, Q-Bert. Appreciate the support. Yeah, we'll die together at the wall, holding hands, talking shit. That'll be fun. So
right.
But Austin, I guess it sounds like
probably
unless
give
you
up
guys,
on this one.
I think you. Well, I feel like you were. That was a cue. You said you were done, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm almost done. I was
Okay,
just
go for it.
really hoping that I could.
Well, you said you were
find
gonna pause it for Monday,
It's
so I
just
thought that was a
super
cue. Go ahead.
long. This. Oh, here we go. Shit. I think I'm finding it now.
Boom.
Yeah, dude. So
Just kidding, you didn't. I'm just kidding.
let's see. According to Martin Allen's older brother, Kevin, the pair had often washed government cars on the commission. Okay, here we go. Okay. So there's a private chauffeur company used by the Australian High Commission to hire stand-in drivers on occasion. Okay, here we go. So this is all connected to apparently Operation Fernbridge. And this again goes directly into the Spartacus, Club Spartacus, and this Elm Guest House, which was being used as a brothel at the time for really kind of compromising many very prominent politicians. And like the best way to kind of introduce that is just really with on the Hot Star. He has an amazing resource put forward for the Spartacus International and the Elm Guest House, and where they kind of cross paths perfectly with this, by the way, owned by a German couple, the proprietors
Goddamn
of
Germans, dude.
of this suburban hotel called the Elm Guest House. And it displayed a sign out front which read Spartacus Club, welcome. And it was suspected of operating as an illegal brothel. The Elm Guest House, raided in June 82, found to be providing guests with a menu of fetishes they could indulge in with boys as young as 10. 23 guests were detained during the raid, found occupying a suite of bedrooms festooned with whips, chains, and sex paraphernalia. and amongst communal areas such as a lounge bar, spa, and sauna facility, and a screening room for pornography, exactly like the Finder's Warehouse. Exactly, where they have, they even have like a ritual, what's it called when it's like a podium in the center,
lectern.
Yeah, and it's so initially reporting, according to police sources and officials, 3 of the guests detained had been parliamentary ministers, and a fourth a member of the Queen's royal staff. And all these reports were swiftly walked back. Obviously, official statements were made subsequently by authorities involved who were trying to cover this up. And but whoever these guests may have been, they were all released without charge. And soon after reporting on the incident, ceased, possibly upon intervention by the Attorney General, Sir Michael Havers, at the time. The German proprietors, Harun and Carol Kassir, were charged for keeping a disorderly house and possession and production of child pornography. The latter charges dropped in 1983 after over 7 hours of video footage seized as evidence from the Elm Guest House was ruled inadmissible in court. Yeah, but it seems like there's a dossier, right, that is revealed as well. And it essentially reveals the fact that there's a Tory MP named Geoffrey Dickens who had handed the Secretary of the Home Office, Leon Britton, a dossier on members of Parliament and the Queen's royal staff alleged to have been part of a VIP pedophile ring. Little was made of this at the time, but 30 years later, this dossier would serve, at least in part, as the basis for an investigation into historic allegations of child abuse at the hands of a VIP pedophile ring linked to Parliament and the Prime Minister's office. What do you know? Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher, pictured with Jimmy Savile, giving providing him with checks to this child care organization, which inevitably has ties to the psychopath machine in the Oak Ridge facility in Canada. Very strange.
Hey, it was worth the cost, okay?
Right.
It was Thatcher, right? I'm correct. That is her quote, right?
Yeah.
For the dead Iraqis. Yeah. Okay. Just make sure.
Mhm.
Right. That's Thatcher. Yeah.
Yeah. And so again, this is just fascinating stuff. But it all boils down to, essentially, there are these boys. These boys were were naming perpetrators, right? But Martin Allen had also gone missing not far from the Elm Guest House 2 years earlier in 1979, and the boy's father had been the chief chauffeur. Dude, here's where we go. Because what else does this remind you of? Jacob Wetterling, the Johnny Gosch case, where the parents' involvement really raises a lot of red flags and strange connections that it doesn't make sense why you'd sacrifice your child unless maybe you were part of a Nazi breeding experiment program that created Lee Harvey Oswald, but we don't have to go there. But so again, I'm just instantly I think of Jacob Wetterling because his father, intelligence background tied to his abduction and his ritual murder, meaning he was actually a part of it, right? And even perpetrated, was a key perpetrator in the ritual murder. And so this boy Martin Allen, who went missing not far from the Elm Guest House in 1979. Well, guess what? His father just so happens to be the chief chauffeur of the Australian High Commissioner, Sir Gordon Freeth. Yeah. And their family lived in the caretaker's cottage.
Australia had the issue with what's her face? Her dad. I forget her name. Nicole Kidman. Her dad was
Anthony Kidman.
Kidman.
Man.
I almost said Hopkins because I think I remember the Anthony. I think that's why. But yeah,
right.
It's Kidman. Anthony Kidman. I forget what exactly it was, but he's he was a crazy part of some crazy network, and yeah,
absolutely. It was essentially, really, it seemed like it was Project Monarch in Australia, because he was a part of the Australian intelligence services and the high society at the time, the aristocracy that were very much abusing, young children ritualistically. But so Sir Gordon Freeth, High Commissioner, Australian High Commissioner, he's being chauffeured around by the father of Martin Allen, who's a boy who goes missing in the Elm Guest House affair. And so their family, of course, lived in the caretaker's cottage on the grounds of the commissioner's residence. And the father believed Martin had been abducted by a group of pedophiles. And after Vishal's disappearance in 1981, it was reported police believed both boys had been abducted by the same group. Vishal's body had been found in February 82, confirming he'd been murdered. And after the Elm Guesthouse raid a few months later, it was reported Scotland Yard had planned to examine a connection between the two boys and the Elm Guesthouse. But like other initial reports on the Elm Guesthouse, this had been denied in an official statement from Scotland Yard soon after. Now, we fast forward to 2014, Operation Fernbridge. Detectives learned a gang of murderous pedophiles led by a man named Sidney Cook had been looked at as suspects for the murder of one of the boys, Vishal Mehrotra. Cook and 3 others had been convicted of the abduction, rape, and murder of 3 boys during the 1980s and were thought to have killed many more. Dean Corll, anyone? The Candyman? During an investigation into Cook and his gang, John Wayne Gacy? I don't know. Maybe we should continue to... It's like, what is happening? So during an investigation into Cook and his gang called Operation Orchid, it was discovered one of Cook's accomplices named Lenny Smith had been a rent boy in the West End, thought to have been linked to the Elm Guesthouse. When Operation Fernbridge detectives checked the original case files to see if any further links between Cook's gang and the Elm Guesthouse had been made, they discovered files pertaining to that aspect of Operation Orchid had mysteriously disappeared. The files went missing, guys. It looks like there will be no accountability. But according to Martin Allen's older brother, Kevin Allen, here we go. The pair had often watched government cars on the commissioner's residence and other surrounding buildings under Australian embassy jurisdiction. Kevin said when his brother had gone missing in 1979, Australian intelligence officers had launched an internal investigation. This is the part. Into stand-in drivers hired by the High Commission or visitors to its residence as possible suspects. The Commission residence often hosted civic functions attended by members of the Thatcher government, such as her private secretary Peter Morrison, an alleged pedophile, deputy director of MI6 Peter Heyman, a known pedophile, as well as Home Secretary Leon Britton. So Kevin Allen stated, there had been a private chauffeur company used by the Australian High Commission to hire stand-in drivers on occasion. The company in question had a number of convicted pedophiles on its payroll, including at one time Sidney Cook. Another had supposedly been David Smith, the personal driver of Jimmy Savile, who turned out to be a convicted pedophile and then died of a heroin overdose the day before his trial. So we could talk about this forever, but this
we got to bounce, dude. We're at 2 hours, 2.5 hours. All right, let's go.
Again, you have Jimmy Savile's chauffeur, David Smith, killing himself, before standing trial on sex charges. Obviously had links to this car company in the late 70s. So it's just another example of private chauffeur companies being oversaturated with pedophiles who are seemingly operating in some sort of well-established network.
Over and over again. With that, Austin, let them know where they can find you. Let's get out of here. I got shit I got to do. My wife's going to yell at me. I'm supposed to be doing stuff.
I'm sorry, man.
You're good.
I gotta chill anyway because I got too much going on. But so you guys already know. Follow me at Theater Thug AWP on Twitter. Definitely the best place to support me. Patreon.com/The Underclass Podcast. Bobo McHoa, I love you, dude. I love you. And PJR, I love you too. I love Sloppy Toppy.
I do love Sloppy Toppy.
But yeah, what did you say?
I love Sloppy Toppy. It's my favorite.
You dumbass. Yeah. All right, but anyway, you guys already know. Nothing but love. Hit me up over the weekend if you have anything you wanna send my way, and I'll try and read that Sloppy Toppy. I'll definitely take a look at it today. So anyway, hey, Conspiracy Carpenter, my boy, I appreciate you, man.
You got it. All right, guys, if you want to support what I'm doing and kind of what Austin's doing as well, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify, all that stuff. Do that for both of us. Why not? Obviously, if you got to pick one, pick me. But also, if you do want a product for your support, go to nadoshaveco.com. Use Jose at checkout. That's a single blade razor, safety razor, much better than the alternative, the usual multi blades. In every which way, a lot cheaper, a lot better for your skin, smoother shave. Also, patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. If you want to directly support the show, cash is king, baby. I mean, can't really do better than that. Lowest level is $2. That's where you get early access to episodes. Like me and Austin just did a Watergate episode last night. So I think I'm actually at 3 or 4 by the paywall. But yeah, I got about roughly 1 to 2 episodes a week. So that's what you're going to get out of it. Also, it's got an ad-free RSS feed you can get there if you don't like the ads and the audio. Also, you can there's a video chat function for me and Austin's weekly Already Dead show, our live call-in show. It's on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. That also Austin also offers that on his as well too, so you can get that from either of us. If you support either of us, you get the option to come on and shoot the shit with us in the question portion of the show. Also, my sponsors, I read them off every episode. Is a big thank you to them. I have my co-host on Tower Gang at Tower Gang Toad, also have at Abrogate D's, at ZOVRECK, at _ Seal, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebold, and Will Bell's delicious blueberry rabbit eye wine. I'm a big fan of the show, Torme, and at INWARD Lover. And with that, we're gonna go get out of here. Love you all. Just check and see if there's anything in here worthwhile to go into. But hey, we're out of here. Love you. Deuces. Bye bye.